Hello everyone, welcome back to Beyond the Veil Tarot and Astrology. My name is Candace Marie. Happy Friday. Thank you guys for hanging out with me on my Friday live. It is April 3rd, the first Friday of the month, and we are doing live tarot readings on the channel. So if you guys can see me, give me a thumbs up, say hello in the chat, let me know where you guys are tuning in from. And if you guys are new here, subscribe to the channel, click that bell button below so you can see more of my videos. I'm always here on Fridays doing lives at 6 p.m. Central Time. Next week, we're going to be doing astrology for that incoming new moon in Aries, but we're doing tarot tonight. So if you guys are watching on Saturday or Sunday, I'm no longer live. Sorry, I missed you. Hopefully I can catch you guys next time. But definitely consider coming back to the channel next week or consider joining my memberships if you guys want to get in on level 4. You'll support me as a full-time content creator. You're going to get also access to the daily horoscope club, and you're going to get a reading with me once a month. You guys can choose tarot or astrology. You just have to be here for the readings and send in your information ahead of time. And if this is your first time watching and you want to get a reading and you want to get in the queue, scan that QR code right up there. It's going to take you to my PayPal. In the memo box, put your information, one question that you guys have, and we're doing 1 card spreads for $20 donation or a 3 card spread for anything connecting to whatever you want for $40. So I have noticed there's a number of people asking multiple questions, so I'm just letting you guys know you can ask 1 question per spread. So if you guys want to do 1 card per question and you want to do 3 different cards, you can do that. If you guys want to do a 3 card spread, it's going to pertain to 1 question. So sorry about the confusion, but there's a lot of people who are here tonight. So basically what I'll do is I always take my level 4 members first. So if you're a level 4 member, you're in the chat and you want to get your reading for the month of April, hit me up, let me know what your question is, and I'll make sure I put you on my list. And I also have a bunch of other people who are already in the queue. So let me say hi to everybody before we kind of get into that. I see Omar's here. What's up, Omar? You're first on my list. What's up? Kaylee, thanks for joining level 3. Mr. Powers is back. What's up, Empress? We've got Savannah, Mary. Mary, just scan the QR code and you can send the info over. What's up, Corey? How you guys doing? Bree, Crystal's here. Thank you, appreciate it. I feel like it's so appropriate for Aries season. Who else is here? What's up, Diana? How are you guys doing? Music Freak. All right, so we got a laundry list of people who are already in. We'll leave the queue open so you guys can sign up and get your readings, and then we'll let you know when we're doing last call, and that's when we are gonna probably put a timer on the clock, or a clock on the screen, and you guys are gonna see how much longer we're gonna leave it open, and then once it's closed, it's closed. So 1 card per question. So I know a couple of you guys were asking multiple questions. I'll call out your names, so as we're getting closer to your reading, I'll read the question. If I have to ask you which one you want, just let me know. But this is who we have. So we've got Omar, Mr. Powers, Jennifer, Aurelia, am I saying your name right? Anna, Crystal, Emiko. We've got Brianna D, and we've got Vanessa, and then we have Brianna C, and I have Corey. So that's everybody who I have so far, but if there's level 3 people who pop in here, or excuse me, level 4 people who pop in here who want to get a reading, shout me out in the chat and I'll make sure that we take care of you, okay? A little bit about what's coming up this week. So we're gonna have Astro Weather coming out on Sunday. You guys will be able to catch that. I'm gonna be talking all about the Sun in Cancer squaring Jupiter, the Sun in Aries squaring Jupiter in Cancer. So it's kind of like a dynamic week, and then next week it's kind of like cray cray. So make sure you guys are subscribed so you can see some of the videos that are coming out. And if you have not checked out my horoscopes for April, I highly recommend doing that. That way you can see what's going on, because things are gonna get spicy. All right, for more about me and my work, if you guys want to learn how to read tarot, I have a tarot course. This is my own deck that I have created. They are now sold out. So some of you guys were lucky enough to get them, but if not, you guys can see the deck that I made. That's what I'm using on the screen. You can follow my Etsy shop too at BTV Astro to see if there's going to be more drops, because we're going to be putting other stuff out in the future. And check out my website at beyondtheveiltarot.com. All right, so let's get right into it. We're gonna start with Omar and then Matt and Jennifer. You guys are all on deck. How's everybody doing tonight? It's Friday. I feel like the Friday night crew is very different than the Sunday morning crew. You guys are a little bit more wild. All right, so we're gonna start with Omar. What's up, Omar? What's going on? I saw you got your reading in there. before everybody else. And Omar says, Happy New Year, Candace. I just wanted to know major theme for April, a challenge for April, and advice for the month of April. Well, I love that format. You just kind of designed your own spread there. So let's do it. So Omar's a Libra ascendant, a Sag sun, and a Taurus moon. All right, so we'll take that into consideration depending on what comes up. So let's focus on these 3 cards. Let's pick first for the major theme, for the challenge, and for the advice. All right, so it was in this order. All right, we've got 8 of Cups, 10 of Cups, Queen of Swords. Very interesting. I mean, obviously you're a dude, right? So the Queen of Swords coming up might be still kind of connecting to like your Libra rising kind of side, anything that deals with like communication, connection, speaking your mind. So you're really kind of aligning with that. If we take a look at what's happening for the major theme of April, I can't quite say I'm surprised. We have the 8 of Cups. So if you know anything about your astrology, you're going to see all of these planets that are going to be moving through your 7th house. So it's a lot of confronting things, dealing with relationships. It could be about personal kind of or professional partnerships. And there's going to be some tests that are going to kind of be going on. So as a Libra rising, you're already out of Venus coming into conjunction with Saturn, but you're going to see, Mercury coming into Aries. We're going to see Mars is going to be coming into Aries, which is going to spice things up. And these planets are going to be meeting basically with Saturn and Neptune. So it's either going to be bringing you a sense of like disillusionment with relationships, but it also can be making you kind of realize what you really do want, conversations you need to have to get closer to people, how to better kind of connect with them, and who you want to align with. So with the 8 of Cups coming up, it's a lot of walking away from things, right? So we've had a lot of planets going through Pisces the last couple of weeks. It does represent some stuff that's been kind of like marinating and things you've been thinking about that are just not working. And that can be health-wise, work-wise, And so I think that you have come to some kind of conclusion about what hasn't been working for you, what you need to confront, and what you're ready to walk away from. 8 of Cups is kind of tricky because when this card comes up, there is this temptation to kind of like look in the rearview mirror and be like, oh, should I go back there? And so I think you're going to be tested to kind of move on from old relationship patterns, old emotional patterns, anything where you're feeling like you're getting kind of hung up on stuff that's just not working for you. And you're going to be tested to really, I think, confront other people and let them know how you feel, but not in a bad way. It's more about what it is that you want in the long term. So if it's not in a relationship sense, you'll see that it's going to be about business partnerships. It might be clients. It might be also a great month to be working with somebody who's going to be like motivating you because all that Aries energy is kind of pushing you to do the things that you should be doing. So coaches, therapists, even getting readings, right, is really good when you have planets going through the 7th house. And really what they're doing is they're going to be kind of assisting you in figuring out what it is that's going to make you feel the most fulfilled. You got a lot of cup energy here. So it's more going to be about emotions, relationships, what you're healing, things that you're tapping into intuitively. And the 10 of Cups is arguably one of the better cards. I could interpret this as that you're walking away from old relationship karma and like old relationship kind of patterns, and you're really embracing something that's going to be long lasting. Saturn wants to kind of like solidify things, and it wants to bring you something that's going to be more so grounded and things that are going to be like long term. And so the 10 of Cups is, where do I see myself down the road, right? Like, what am I looking for if I'm looking for a romantic companion? Or what am I looking for if I'm trying to find somebody who's going to be a long-term business partner, or somebody who I can be working with for, quite a long time? It could be a therapist even, or coaches who are going to be trying to help you kind of get in touch with what you need. So in this position, you wanted to know, what is the challenge that is going to be kind of coming up? Well, the major theme is walking away. The challenge for April is basically going to be finding your bliss. That's not a bad challenge. Emotional fulfillment, feeling safe and secure, long-term emotional planning, investing your energy or your emotions in people who you feel like are actually going to be taking you where you want to go in life. And so that's not much of a challenge, to be honest with you. Maybe the challenge is that you're having to walk away from old things that you're realizing aren't quite fulfilling, they're not quite hitting the spot, and you're chasing your bliss. So it could be with your career where you're like, look, this is like kind of like dead in the water. I need to do something different. I want to focus on a partnership professionally, or working with a company or with people that is going to make me feel like I love my job, right? That could be one manifestation. I also think that this is about people partnering with you and helping you, getting you to where you need to go. The final card that you have is the advice for the month. And so this would be the outcome card. So I love that you're pulling a queen. Obviously, this means that you're tapping into intuitively what you need to say, what's on your mind, what you're thinking about. You know, just as like a Libra rising myself, I've been kind of like, ooh, there could be some like really good opportunities to work through some challenges in relationships, but there's also possibly going to be like some sparring, some mental kind of debates and stuff. So I've been thinking about the Queen of Swords and how it's somebody who can be really kind of direct, matter of fact. She's not like the other queens, like she's not going to let her emotions quite get in the way. It can mean that there is like a really important or significant person that you're going to be meeting this month. Could be an air sign, so it could be a Gemini or a Libra or an Aquarius or Aquarius rising. But it can be talking about really getting to the heart of the matter through the Ten of Cups and really speaking your mind, and also feeling like you're voicing what it is that you need to feel happy. And there might be more opportunities to have meetings, to be writing, to be journaling. This is also going to be really strong for, I think, going after what you want and vocalizing that, because a lot of the 7th house is telling other people where you stand. So if you're looking for more clients, if you're looking for support in a professional kind of field, if you're looking to meet somebody new, all you got to do is ask. You have to put it out there. So my advice is to be vocal this month. You know, don't be afraid to have some of the hard conversations and tell people where you're at, what you're thinking, how you're feeling. I do think you'll approach it in a more detached way. It's going to be logical, so it's not going to be like all these watery cups. And you're really looking forward to the good things that are coming, rather than kind of focusing on what hasn't worked out, what's been falling apart, what hasn't been going your way, what doesn't feel good. And you're like, I'm not worrying about that. I'm more focused on the horizon. Where am I going? And where do I see myself over the better part of like the next, several months? Because 10s can represent longer cycles. So it can be saying that this is something that you're working through over the next 10 weeks, maybe the 10 months, or into the 10th month of this year. But relationship energy is the vibe. I mean, if you look at like the 10 of Cups, you see like, a couple that are standing, and there's all the cups around them in this beautiful field. There's a house, there's kids running around. So it can represent that you're finding somebody who comes into your life this month that might be sticking around for the long haul. Even if it's not meant to be a romantic relationship, it might be somebody who you're talking to who's like, okay, how can we get you to where you want to go? How can I help you? So be open to feedback is what I would also advise you to do. If you need to get, a second pair of eyes on something, or if you're needing to ask somebody's opinion, or like even getting readings can be really great. Just so you have more clarity about who you're going to be investing yourself into emotionally, and potentially also like time-wise. So keep an eye out for that queen who can come in, who might be asking you questions and helping you kind of find the way. And don't be afraid to kind of speak up this month, okay? Hopefully that's helpful for you. What's up, Rosie? Let me know your question. Thanks, Brianna. I've got you. You're in the queue. Rosie, I will add you in here. I'll take Matt Powers, and then I will take Rosie after. All right. Let me know what happens, Omar. I like that. I'm almost wondering, I'm like, are you single? Because you might meet somebody, All right. So we've got Jennifer. What's up, Jennifer? Jen from Philly. All right. So yes, I know about the Gemini midheaven, 27 degrees. Question for the cards, asking where my life will go with Uranus entering into the sign of Gemini over the next 7 years, and how will my career go in the summer of 2026? All right, well, let's take a look. Obviously, after coming out of like a year of having had, Saturn and Neptune squaring your midheaven, right? And it's a closing square, and it's been in mutable signs, and it's Pisces. It's a lot of like, where are things going? Thankfully, you're a later degree midheaven, so you're going to be finding that you're years away from having the Uranus conjunction. But when it does happen, your midheaven is at a 27, so it's going to represent kind of like a branching off, or like a change that's going to be happening with that particular degree. So you might be working 2 different positions. Maybe you're working in a company, you're starting a company. Maybe it's going to be about kind of infusing things that are connected to media, technology, communications, contracts, all of that stuff, or like that the company might potentially kind of split into like 2 different elements that's going to fall under the same umbrella. Does that make sense? And so I'm a Placidus user, that, but I do think that with Uranus going back into Gemini,
you're probably going to feel the effects of it, right, coming up in this next month. And I would also be paying attention to like when planets are coming into conjunction with Uranus. So you'll see that kind of starting to take place as we're getting into Gemini season. So you'll see that kind of in May. And then in July, we're going to see a conjunction between Mars and Uranus. And right now, the North and South node are coming into a square with Uranus. So between now and even like, I would say June, I think that's when the Uranus square is going to happen. It's going to represent a sudden change. And so that is the upgrade, I think, and like the preview of some of the bigger changes that are going to be happening at work. So let's see what the cards say about Uranus going into Gemini. You know, what's going to be kind of taking place for you? Where will your life go? Of course, we get the Death card. For me, I mean, I'm not afraid of the Death card. I'd be more afraid of like the Ace of Swords, you know, if it was reversed, or the Devil card or something like that. But the Death card is basically saying, look, it's inevitably going to change. I would be looking at the placements of your natal Mercury, because when you have Uranus going into that sign, we want to see what house is your Mercury in, what degree is it in, what aspects is it kind of making. My thought is that it's kind of clearing the way. Now, sometimes tarot can be literal or figurative. So can astrology. This isn't necessarily one of my actual physical death cards, but there can be some pretty dramatic changes that are going to happen over the next year, especially as you're seeing planets that are going to be kind of dancing with Uranus, or even the North and the South node square. That's going to represent for you, okay, I'm in a situation where, you know, there are some things that are changing structurally with the business. And the key here with the Death card is not to resist that. It's to be open to it, to say, you know what, yes, we do need to kind of improve, or we do need to find ways to kind of, you know, like update how we're working or what we're doing. Inevitable changes that have to come. And I think that this is saying that it's kind of creating that fertile ground for something new to begin. I would think with the North and the South node squaring Uranus, for you, it's going to be really kind of tapping into wherever Aquarius is in your chart. So, you know, 6th house, basically cusp, new employees, new offices, new schedules, updates and things connected to systems, AI, people who are, you know, working with you, who are helping you. This is also about other like employees. And I think that I would just be keeping an eye out for what's going to be happening when Mars goes through Gemini, because Mars is associated with the Death card. So you're going to see that literally like the first 10 days of July. That can be like the pretty dramatic sweep and change that's going to be kind of happening. Obviously, Mars is associated with Aries as well, which is kind of connected to your 8th house. So it's going to be about funding, changes with funding, debt, loans. Something might be changing with like the fundamentals of the company. You might also be finding that the way that you guys are managing investments or loans, or how you guys are kind of dealing with debt or budgeting, might be part of the equation. And having Uranus going into Gemini, it's going to radically change everything, right? We don't really see the full effects of Uranus leaving a sign, of Uranus going through a sign until it's leaving. And I've been warning people, I'm like, guys, Uranus is sitting at 29 degrees in the next month. Like, if you think that we're done with Uranus and Taurus, you haven't seen anything yet. The supply shock, the major changes with bankings, major issues probably with liquidity stuff, things like that are going to start kind of popping up here over the next couple of weeks. And that's like the big bang when Uranus then goes into Gemini. And it'll take several years to make that happen. Communications, information change, you know, how you guys are making agreements, signing documents, anything that deals with how you guys are storing information. I think that might be part of it. And it is saying that it is inevitable. So I would say don't fight the changes that are coming and be open to it, because ultimately death is also associated with that transformation where something ends. But it's, like I said, creating that fertile ground for something new to kind of grow and evolve. Obviously, if I had to pick a card, you know, if somebody were to say to me, like, what would be the one card that you would pull for my Virgo risings for that transit? It would be the Death card. It would be, because it's just like, well, some of you guys are going to experience a job that's going to end, and some of you guys are going to then go off and start your own business, or you guys are going to start consulting, or you're going to work independently. I don't really see that for you per se. I think it's going to be more about you realizing that you have to upgrade and be more innovative at work. And in order to kind of stay in the game, you're going to have to be able to kind of get ahead of some of the latest developments within your industry in order to feel like you have that upper hand, right? And then the other question that you had was, how will my career go in the summer of 2026? Well, let's take a look. So what advice can we give Miss Jennifer for what's going to be taking place in the summer of 2026 with her career? I like it. You get the 6 of Coins, and the confirmation card is the 10 of Cups on the bottom. Love that. I really feel like this is going to be a point where there's a lot of focus on what is and what is not working. Not in a bad way, but you're going to be kind of going like, okay, these are the strengths that's kind of going on within my industry or my position or my team. This is where I'm willing to be more open to connecting and collaborating. I'm going to be more willing to be accepting other people's offers or collaborations. It can also mean that there's a lot of give and take. So it can mean that things can be positive and stable and that, you know, you're going to stay employed, you're going to be making money, all that stuff. But it's also saying that you're really open to kind of reassessing who you're working with. And you'll be kind of realizing who are the people who are supporting you the most and kind of helping keep everything afloat. This is also a card of generosity. So there can be a sense of you feeling like, okay, now, you know, credit is going to be given where credit is due. Whether you're getting the pat on the back or the recognition from the boss, maybe it means that there's going to be some changes that are going to be happening with your investments, your 401k, your bonuses. There can be actually some really great things where, especially for like Virgo risings, I think a lot of them are owed something. So they'll start to see that that's kind of coming in through the Saturn transit. I think that this is also about paying it forward. So there may be a sense of you like mentoring people or, you know, working with people who are kind of up and coming in the industry. You may feel like, hey, I want to give some of these people a chance, or I'm going to take them under my wing. And in return, you're also going to see that other people are going to be more supportive and like generous with you. So it is important to be really kind of weighing your options when it comes to your work over the next, you know, couple of months. Be mindful also of anything that deals with like budgeting. That's usually kind of comes up with the 6 of Coins, where you're having to kind of weigh your options and you're like, well, does it make sense to do this? Maybe your strategy when it comes to how you guys are managing investments or finances are going to change in some way. And it's about being a little bit more cautious and conservative to some extent and really weighing everything out before you make any drastic changes. I do think it's going to pay off. The confirmation card for both of those was the 10 of Cups. So it does look like you're going to feel very fulfilled with some of the changes that are happening, even though it can feel like it's some dramatic change, but that's going to be over a 7-year period of time. And the 6 of Coins is saying that you're kind of taking a wait and see approach before you make any dramatic changes now. If you are willing to support other people are going to be willing to support you. And I do like this concept of like good karma coming back around for some of the things that you have been able to do in your role. And I think that it's going to be about you investing in this position for the long run. So I hope that that's helpful. Thank you so much for your generosity, and we get to chat soon. All right, we've got Rosie. Let's see. Rosie, do you have a particular question for me? Let me know. If you do, once I get your question, I'll get you in here. We've got Mr. Powers, and then we've got hopefully Rosie and Jennifer. Oh, there she is. All right, Rosie, what do you want to know? Rosie says, just looking ahead for 45 days, that would be 45 days, please. Love would be great. All right, well, let's see what we can tell Rosie about the love department. See if it's more love or health that comes up. All right, it was in this order. We've got the Devil card, the 10 of Wands, and the World card. You got 2 majors. This doesn't look like a lot of love to me, I'm gonna be honest with you. I feel like part of what's going on is like cycles are completing, right? So the Devil card can be very much associated with where Capricorn is in your chart or where Saturn is in your chart right now. So it's going through Aries. I think a lot of people are probably gonna be, and I've been seeing it with my clients a lot the last like week or two, a lot of people are pulling the Devil card. There's a lot of people going, how can I break free from this situation? I feel so limited. How can I make these changes? And so sometimes the Devil card comes up where we're feeling stuck. We're feeling like there is some kind of like limitation. Something has a power over us. It can also be talking about, you know, stuff at work where you're feeling like I just can't quite break through with the situation, or I'm dealing with like an overbearing boss, or I just can't stop like a bad habit. That's what comes up. So this is what you're moving away from. And Rosie says, I think we established last year that I have a love, I love the love of a frog, so it's okay. Well, I would really reflect on over the next month, like where you can break through some stuff, where you're breaking through the chains. Like usually with the traditional Rider-Waite, you know, you see two people, like the lovers, that are kind of standing there and they're kind of chained and they're not able to break free. And then the devil is kind of towering over them. And so this can be talking about you going, yeah, there's been this situation that's been looming and like now I have to do something about it because I'm really starting to feel like I'm in a rut. That mixed with the Ten of Wands, where it's saying right now and what you're supposed to be focusing on is what you are releasing, what you are concluding, what you are letting go. For me, this would be like, the remedy to this would be like a detox, you know? So if you're like, oh, I haven't been eating well, or I've been eating a lot of sugar, or I'm trying to like cut back on drinking, or maybe it's that you're not drinking enough water, you know, anything like that. There's something that has this power over you, and a lot of it can be your mindset where you're like, oh, it's going to be too hard to curb that habit or change this condition or reverse something that's going on health-wise, because it's become ingrained in you that it's easier to keep staying that way rather than to fix the problem. Now, the Ten of Wands also talks about anything where you're releasing this burden. So that's why I said detoxes, cleanses, like really clearing the body out and like relieving anything that's potentially creating stress, inflammation. It's also about stress management, because usually this is a card that's about feeling overburdened with taking on too much at one time. And so it's really easy to get overwhelmed if you're dealing with a health situation with the devil and the Ten of Wands, where you're like, I don't even know where to start. I wouldn't know what to do. So much of the astrology in the month of April is about not knowing how things are going to finish. It's being more focused on the beginning and the first kind of steps. I love when the Ten of Wands comes up. I always tell people, I'm like, it's about really learning how to kind of build up resistance and like being willing to carry more weight. So it may mean that you're like, okay, you know, haven't been working out, have not been doing that in a while. And maybe it means that you're starting with like body weight exercises, right? Or maybe you just get into a physical routine where you're just like, nope, I'm just going to keep doing it, repetition, until you actually start to see it's less about what's going on with how this is impacting your physical body. It's how it's impacting your mindset. I also think that, you know, for you personally, there is this sense of you having to come to terms with what you have to let go of. And so could it be that there is, you know, some kind of trapped emotion, or maybe there is some unwillingness to kind of let go of stuff, and it's manifesting as having health issues. It's manifesting as a heavier mood. It's manifesting as like a lower kind of mindset, anything like that. I also think that with the World card coming up for you, it can mean that these cycles are coming, you know, like to completion. So first you're stuck, then you realize, okay, this habit, this situation, this lifestyle thing, you know, it's got to go, or I finally have to deal with this. And then the finale is like the World card, where you're like, okay, great, you know, that's finished with, I'm graduating, I'm moving on from it. The World card can also mean that you're making this conscious decision to be like, now that I've learned my lesson, and now what I've learned that I need to do to prioritize my health, or now that I've kind of fixed something that's been going on with my sleep, my habits, my diet, you're like, there's no going back, right? You will make such a significant change probably over the next 10 weeks that, yeah, you're going to stick with it. And that's where some of like, I guess, like the lemonade is in the astrology of April, that yes, we're going to realize that we have to get out of our own way, that we have to be, you know, willing to overcome fear and giving up, and we have to stay, you know, the course. And then once we do that, pretty much through like the third week of April, even though it's going to get tough, we're going to be like, okay, I'm going to keep doing it, and you're not going to give up. And so the World card can basically be saying that through the process of like the next 45 days, that cycle, or let's say the next lunar cycle, you're going to realize that you're like on top of the world. And it is possible for you to realize that what seemed like overbearing situations and things that you could not break out of, or lifestyle issues or health issues, you realize actually I can do it. So what else can I do? Because the next card would be the Fool. So it's going to represent you being like, okay, I'll take this to a point and then I'm going to do more. Now, you asked for an extra card just to give you confirmation. There it is. She was asking for love and she got health. And then, well, she was asking about health and she got love. So the extra card would be the Ace of Cups, which is, I think, not so much necessarily just saying, hey, there is relationship energy coming in, right? This would be one of the cards that would indicate, yes, you're getting ready to meet somebody. Most likely it's going to be closer to the summertime. So I'd be looking at like June, July. But it is saying that it's more about regaining confidence, love of self, new relationship opportunities that are coming because of the emotional things that are shifting as a result of the physical things that are shifting. It can also mean that you have to go through these trials to really learn to prioritize yourself, take care of yourself, be 100%, So you're ready to hold that relationship, right? Like cup runneth over is very much the theme with the Ace of Cups. But if you're feeling depleted or you're not able to give yourself what you need, you're not able to pour out of an empty cup, right? But when the Ace of Cups comes up as the end, as the confirmation card, it's like, wow, okay, now I feel like I actually have something to give. I can fully be there. I can be present. I can also be confident. I can enjoy the connection. I can enjoy the moment, and feeling like you're really ready for love. So the way to that is through health, yes, but it will materialize as better relationship with self, more availability, and also momentum when it comes to your love life. Detox cleanses, body weight exercises. That's what I would recommend. I would literally be like, start picking things up and carrying things around. You know, like I had a client that was pulling these two a couple months ago, and I was like, why don't you just consider like just starting, rather than going to the gym, just start doing like anything body weight, do planks, you know, do stuff where you're doing sit-ups, you're doing push-ups, anything like that, and then graduate. I told them, I was like, my little secret trick is I like to put on like a weighted vest and like run around the house and do stuff, or I'll, you know, like put on like ankle weights and stuff when I'm doing things if I go to the store sometimes. And it's like super easy, and you would never know that it's there, but it's forcing you to work harder. That's very much that energy of the 10 of Wands, where you're having to like learn to kind of carry something. So maybe it's just building up more resistance, but picking up, putting things down, you know, parking a little bit further away, pushing yourself and getting a little bit more kind of like extra fitness in if you can, because I think it's going to build more resistance. So hopefully that's helpful for you. Thanks for being a member. All right, we've got Mr. Powers, Jennifer, and Ariella. And if you guys are just checking in, you can scan the QR code up here and you can ask your questions. We are taking your questions by PayPal or by Super Chat. Don't forget to put your info in the memo if you have a specific question for me. All right, Mr. Powers, I hear that you are on the hunt for a job. Mr. Powers says, I started applying for new teaching gigs, and so far I've had one interview but haven't heard back from the others. It's only been a week and it's still early, and I'm continuing to apply, but curious to know if the interviews are going to start coming in or if I better get used to my current job for the time being. Gulp. Thanks. Certainly my Aries and Aries risings, I've got probably, I don't even know how many. I know at least probably 24 that I talk to regularly. And they're all just like, it's coming. I can feel that I'm either going to get a job offer or I'm going to be quitting my job. Like the one thing you don't want to do over the next month is rage quit. And you will probably see temptation to do that. But you want to replace that with that kind of confidence, that vision that's like something else is coming in. So let's take a look. So what can we tell Mr. Powers about this interview process? Does it look like he's going to be getting something that is legit, that he likes, or should he get used to working where he is? Come on, cards. All right, there we go. It was in this order. Great cards. There's no coins coming up. There's no Ace of Coins. There's no Eight of Coins, nothing like that. But there's still some really big energies here. So you got two majors. You've got the High Priestess, the Lover's card, and the Seven of Wands. What if I told you it was not like A or B, right? If it's not like, oh, you know, am I going to find somebody who's going to take me, or am I going to have to stay at my job? Like, let's break out of that box a little bit. The High Priestess is such a cool card for you to be getting because it's about like being receptive, calling it in. She's not external, she's internal. So it's about this internal calm, knowing, you know, vision. She's holding that vision for what's actually going to be manifesting and kind of coming into her reality. It does represent your mindset more in a sense of, I know something better is going to arrive. I know that I'm going to be placed exactly where I'm supposed to be. I know it's going to be for my highest good. I can envision it. Like, I'd really like to see you, especially knowing that Mars and Neptune are going to start snuggling up in Aries soon, sitting down and meditating and envisioning what it feels like, because Neptune can be kind of what we're opening up to, what it feels like to get that call that you got the job that you wanted. Don't be looking at this from the perspective of scarcity, that it's like I either have to hate where I'm staying or I have to hope somebody's going to choose me. The High Priestess knows intuitively that what is meant to find her will find her. So it's about that mindset shift. Then you got the Lover's card. So that tells me that, you know, very likely you are not only going to see the potential for a job, but you might have your choice of two. Now, to be fair, it could mean that, okay, you get an offer and it's like, well, do I stay at my job where I have, you know, security, or do I take this other offer? But I really feel like knowing that the Seven of Wands is coming up is that there's going to be 2 different positions that you may potentially be offered. And you're going to feel like you're between a rock and a hard place. You're kind of coming into a period where there's a fork in the road. And you're going to go, okay, maybe it's not, is somebody going to choose me? It's like, wow, there's 2 completely different positions. They could be in different locations. They could be teaching different topics or different subjects. They could be different grades or kind of like levels of education. They can also represent 2 different institutions. It's also possible you might go to an interview and they're like, okay, well, what's your experience? What have you done? What have you been teaching? And then they're like, okay, well, you're applying for this job, but would you have any interest in this job? Like, it's going to be like somebody going, do you want this or do you want that? And so that's excellent. The Lover's card is also about temptation. So it can represent right now where you're very tempted to just take whatever is just going to be made available to you because obviously like you would like to make a change, right? But it can mean that there is some caution here that you're not just snatching up the first thing that's going to kind of come your way. Even if you end up going to an interview or you get a call back, I would still continue to keep looking. I think this is something that you're going to do probably until about Gemini season, which is going to be about May. I know school goes back, I think like August in most places. But I think that this may mean that even if you get something that's offered to you, you're going to keep looking, and it's saying like, don't be completely sure with the one thing that's being offered to you because there may be something else. Love the Seven of Wands. There's like this competitive edge here. So it is saying that because of your experience, because of your confidence, your charisma, your unwillingness also to kind of like just give up and you're going to keep looking, works in your favor. There may be some negotiation too. So it might mean you go into a position and they're like, well, this is the pay. And you're going to be like, okay, well, you know, this is my salary requirements, or, you know, these are the benefits that I want, or this is, obviously you don't really have a lot to say about your schedule, but there's going to be preferences that you're going to have going into this, requests that you're going to have going into this. Maybe you're requesting that you teach a certain subject or that you're going to be teaching a certain grade level. It may also mean that you're really pushing because you have experience and you're going to feel like you are going to be capable of getting a higher position, or maybe you are going to be getting a better salary or a better pay. So all in all, once again, get out of the box. It's not about, is somebody going to choose me so I can get out of my situation? Be more focused on what you're bringing in rather than feeling like you have to be kind of like reaching out and kind of seeing what sticks and kind of throwing things at the wall. Watch for an option, okay? Whether that's in an interview or somebody says, hey, you know, have you ever considered working for a private institution? You know, would you consider teaching the subject you haven't taught before? Would you work for, you know, a different grade level? Those types of things, and be willing to kind of barter and negotiate in terms of making sure you get what you want. And I think that that's really going to kind of play into your favor if you are doing a little bit of the back and forth. So you can weigh the 2 options of the different positions and see realistically which one's going to be best for you. So hopefully that's helpful for you, Matt. Great cards. I love that for you. I love that there's like another option that you have not considered, but I would say start feeling your way into that. All right, we have got Jennifer, and then Arula, and then Anna. Let's see what Jennifer has to say. Oh no, excuse me, we already had Jennifer. So now we've got Arula. Aruella, am I saying that right? Aruella. All right, she says, I'm a Taurus rising and moon. I'd like to know how, okay, so this is one of the questions where you ask 3 things. You want to know how long will your lawsuit take to finalize, and if your family will be happy with the settlement, and do I see you and your family moving to California? So which one do you want me to answer? Because it's 2 different questions. Do you want me to talk to you about the settlement, or do you want me to talk to you about moving? And then after we have you, we're going to have Anna, and we're going to have Crystal. So if I don't hear back from you, I'm going to move on to Anna, and then I'll come back once you give me your answer. Let's see. So Anna says, California area. I'm a Virgo. My child is a Leo. I'm thinking about selling and moving me and my kid to a different state for a better quality of life. Which states will we, better quality of life. Which states will we both benefit? 2, should I stay in my current job? 3, struggle is rough. How are the months to come? Okay, so that's kind of like all in one thing. So you're thinking about whether or not you are gonna move, or if it's looking like you're going to stay at your job, and like the advice that you get. So let's take a look and see. So we'll take Anna's first, and then if I hear back from Arella, let me know. So this is going to be taking a look at, are you moving with your kid, or does it look like you're going to be staying and things have been difficult, and what is the situation? Because obviously if you're moving, you're going to be making a change with your job. All right, so it was in this order. I've got the 5 of coins, the 7 of cups, and the Queen of coins. I mean, at least in the end, like looking at the Queen of Pentacles coming up, it's saying that most likely if you are thinking about making a pretty significant physical change, like picking up your kid, going to another state, I do think that's going to be something that you're going to do. Like, I do think that. Because this is about, as a mother, and also like as somebody who's looking out for her finances, looking out for her health, looking out for her sanity, you're feeling like it's time to make a change. And I can see that both in terms of where you're living and also what's been going on with your job, it looks like it's not cutting it. Maybe you're able to take your job with you. I don't know. But I can tell you with the 5 of coins coming up, it makes me feel like, yeah, you're definitely feeling like you're kind of strapped for cash. There's this feeling of not really being able to feel like you can enjoy the fruits of your labor, and there is this sense of you going, I don't know how we're making it on our own, or I'm not getting a lot of support, and I'm kind of like feeling left out in the cold. And so I do think that that's where you're coming from, okay? Where you're going is the 7 of cups, which is not the most helpful card because it's not a definitive answer, right? And remember, tarot, it's a mirror. It's going to show you where you're at right now. People always get mystified by getting tarot readings, but it's going to show you where you're at in this current moment. 7 of cups is like you going, I could move, I could stay, I could change jobs, I could move and get a new job, you know, I could make this change, and like everything's kind of up in the air. And I think you're getting overwhelmed with all of the options, when in reality, the Queen of Coins really wants to simplify this. And what she says is, where are you going to make the most money? Where are you going to get the most bang for your buck in terms of your lifestyle, where you're living? And what is going to be the healthiest for you? Where do you feel like you're going to be able to have, you know, a connection to nature, right? Queen of Coins. Where do you feel like maybe you're going to have better food, or you're going to have better atmosphere, or quality is something that the Queen really focuses on. And I would say that if you're able to stay in the job that you're in and relocate, you may do that. If you're not able to do that, then I don't necessarily think staying is an option, and it makes me feel like you're going to start exploring other options where you could either transfer, or you're looking for a job in another location that is going to not only probably pay you better, but it's also going to be a more affordable place for you to be. Now, the bottom of the deck, which I'm going to pull in this case, is the 6 of coins. So it is telling me that you're doing this over the next 6 months. You're going to be weighing your options. You're also going to be checking in with your kid, being like, what do you think? You know, maybe you're going to be more willing to try to negotiate with who you're working with and be like, can you guys work with me? Can you transfer me? You know, are you guys going to be cool if I am going to be in another place? Like, can we still continue this? And you may be able to negotiate in a way. You may be able to do that. But I feel like you will probably still make another change. And that's just intuitively what I feel. I feel like you're going to be like, okay, I need the security of the job. If I can move and relocate, I will do that. I can save some money. I'm going to have like a better life. And then you're going to look around and you're going to be like, maybe I'm going to try to find another job. But it's not going to be out of like necessity. It's going to be because you're going to realize that you can survive, right, where you're living, or you can thrive somewhere else. And once you're starting to feel better and you're feeling like you can enjoy your life more, you're going to go, now that I have the security and I'm settled, now I'm going to see what else I can go and do, right? So that's kind of the feeling that I'm getting looking at this. Let's see, music free. Okay, so I'll get you in just a second. You're going to be next, music freak. But specifically for Anna, I would say don't do anything crazy like quitting your job right now. If you're going to be able to take your job with you and you can move, yes, do that. If you can't, then I would be looking at other options and seeing where you could potentially get something that could be equivalent, and then make it possible for you to be able to move and relocate. But Queen of Coins is saying you're going to have your health, you're going to have your wealth, you're also going to be stable. You're making a smart decision, not only you and for your future, but also for your family. And it does look like it's going to be quite a significant quality of life change. And like, yeah, you don't really see the forest. You can't really see the forest through the trees right now, but it makes sense to me. And obviously, you know, I don't know your rising sign or anything, but you said your kid is your kid is a Virgo, and no, you're a Virgo, your kid is a Leo. Okay, so like Leos are going to go through all kinds of like changes. They're going to be traveling and going to places, and then Virgos are going to find that they haven't really been happy with where they've been living for since like last fall. So look at Jupiter. Jupiter is going to be the ruler that's connected to your 4th house. Right now it's in Cancer. So you're looking where there's community, where there's friends, where you're going to have other families. You're also probably going to find that if you have not moved by the fall of this year under some of like the retrogrades, that's when you're going to be contemplating moving. So I don't recommend moving in October or November, but by then you'll be like, okay, now it's really time to make a change. Hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, back to Music Freak, and then I'll give you guys an update on who's in the queue, but we haven't closed the readings yet, so if you guys sent a donation for a reading, you're in. All right, so Music Freak says, how long will the lawsuit take with the settlement? Okay, so let's ask the cards, what do we need to know about this settlement that she's going through? Any idea as to whether or not it's going to take much longer, and the results of the settlement, and will they be satisfied with it? Taurus rising and moon. All right, well, let's take a look. Certainly Uranus going into the 2nd house can be really interesting for money, but Jupiter is going to be more tied, I think, to lawsuits, which is in Cancer. So family, lawsuit stuff, you'll see some things probably coming up around June or July, I would assume, with the astrology. All right, these are the cards that I got in this order. Interesting. Well, you got a plan for that money already, girl. You're like, we're going places, we're doing things. Like, obviously you're asking about moving, but it looks like the plan is that you guys are either like, we're going to be relocating, or, we're going to be starting over, or we're going to be focusing on like going to a completely different place, or maybe we're going to be traveling. It looks a little anxiety ridden right now with like the 10 of Swords and the 9 of Swords that are coming up. The 10 of Swords is saying that like, everything has already been put in motion. Like, you have no other choice but to see this through. For whatever reason that the lawsuit kind of came about, it's like, I do think it's owed to you, because the 10 of Swords talks about kind of feeling taken advantage of, stabbed in the back. Sometimes I see that come up for like wrongful death lawsuits. I also see that come up when, somebody was left high and dry and they were just kind of like did dirty, and just like a long period of finally trying to kind of like, getting what's owed to them. And also just like a lot of like anxiety and stress and heartbreak. The 10 of Swords is just like, oh, should I just give up? Like, what's the point? And the 9 of Swords tells me that that's been the case. I mean, obviously lawsuits take forever, but like it's being drawn out intentionally to see if you're going to cave and be like, okay, let's make an offer, or maybe accept something that's less than what you deserve. So I don't know if they've already made offers to you and you're just like, no way, we're not doing that. And you'll see that kind of like cat and mouse game with lawsuits, right? People will be like, this is what we're willing to offer you. And you're like, nope, we'll see you in court. And I've seen it in my own life. It comes all the way down to like, days before you go to court, and you're preparing to go to court with your lawyer and go and sit through this whole like bogus routine, and then they call you and they're like, okay, this is what we're offering you. Let's just settle. I get the impression that they're kind of playing the cat and mouse game with you. That's what I think is happening. And I think that with the 9 of Swords, it's really wearing on you. Like, I see people have nightmares. They also have really bad stress. They have really bad anxiety when this comes up. There is definitely like a sense of trying to wear you down that's going on. Now, obviously, these are some dark cards, right? 10 of Swords is kind of like painful endings. 9 of Swords is the stress and anxiety about what's going to happen. The final card that you get is the Fool card. And so this basically says for you, you're in a situation where, you're going to be able to have your fresh start. You're going to have your new beginning. None of these cards are coming up saying, woo, big money, right? I'm not seeing 10 of coins. I'm not seeing, any of that stuff. But I am seeing that it is going to be satisfying in a sense of being able to start over. So whatever stress you've been going through, to me, it looks like it's going to change. I would, just thinking about you being a Taurus rising, you have to go and you have to look at, what transits are happening to Mercury in your chart. Intuitively, if you're dealing with like a family lawsuit situation, or anything that involves your family, I'd be looking at what's going on in June into July, because there's going to be a retrograde, in Cancer. It's going to be about signing contracts and things that are kind of connected to legality and finishing something. This is also saying it's going to be this year, right? So it's within the next year. So usually when this card comes up, it's talking about the new year. Well, we're kind of in the new year right now, astrologically speaking. For you guys, you know, out in like normie land, you're like, oh, but it's April. The real new year starts, you know, March going into April. So I don't think it's going to take very long. I think that you'll probably be able to like get the show on the road and be able to have this all wrapped up by the end of the year, so you can be focused on moving and having that fresh new start that you're kind of hoping for with you and your family. Hopefully that's helpful for you. Good luck with that. Let's see. So who else do we have here? Just playing catch up. I think I'm next. Can I send another $20 and get a 3-card reading? Seeing you do all these 3 cards takes me on. Yeah, you can do that. And then I'll give you guys the queue, so I'll let you know. And if you guys are watching and want to get a reading, scan the QR code and I will get you in the queue. All right, this is who we have next. We've got Crystal, who's going to have an extra 2 cards. We've got Emiko, Brianna D, Vanessa, Brianna C. We've got Corey, Tiana, Amanda, Jamie, Cassidy, and Kimberly. Okay, so we'll leave the queue open for a little bit longer. Let's see, what time is it? All right, we'll leave it open for like another 10 minutes and then we'll close it down. Okay, thanks, Crystal. You want the same topic? You just want me to do 3 cards? Doing it now. Context for me, I'm a hairstylist mom working 2 jobs, and one of them is booth rental, feeling like it's time to go full-time with my self-employment because business is picking up. I'm just scared. Okay. Well, let's take a look. Let me go pull up your question too. She says, I am a 0-degree Aries sun and Scorpio rising. Watch your new moon in Aries video and the energy supports that decision for me. You know, Saturn and Neptune going into your 6th house is about like a new beginning when it comes to your schedule. Aries is your relationship to your schedule and your services. Hairstylists and all that stuff is very much the 6th house. So thinking about over the next like 6 weeks, right? You're going to see Mars going through your 6th house. Neptune's going to be there. Mercury's going to be there. And there is this sense of you going like, ooh, like, can I take on this challenge, right? Do I have the space for it? And I will tell anybody, regardless of the astrology, like anybody who, unless you have like fucking money where you don't care how much money you spend on opening a business, I would tell everybody right now to be very conservative and to be really cautious around brick and mortar. Everybody, especially a Scorpio rising, because a lot of it's what can you do, what can you get done with the least amount of space, the least amount of investment as possible. Now, Scorpio risings are going to have a really great year for the most part because they're going to find that all of the blood, sweat, and tears that they're doing, you know, pretty much between like, let's say now and June, will start to materialize over the summer when they have Jupiter going through their 10th house of career, when they start seeing also eclipses in their 10th house of career, Jupiter expanding, making money, trining Saturn. So if you're conservative, it's going to pay off and you can really have the expansion the way that you want it down the road, right? Which I think may not come until the beginning of next year, to be honest with you. Things start to really align for Scorpio risings, especially spring of 2027. Loving these cards for you. It's literally saying what I was thinking. So I feel like with the 2 of Pentacles, it's like, do I do this? Do I do that? And like, yeah, you might feel like the jester that's like, man, I'm already juggling a lot of stuff, but like, can I do this? And I would say, yes, you can, because if your heart's in it with the Ace of Cups coming up, and if it's something that you really value and you really love doing it and you can do it your own way, like there's something, I feel like you work so much harder when you work for yourself. Like I think about all the jobs that I've had compared to what I do now. And like, I never stop working, but I love what I'm doing. And so it doesn't always feel like that. For you, this can also represent there's a partnership coming in. So usually like the Ace of Cups can be like relationship energy, but it can also mean that there is a collaboration that you're doing with somebody else. So if you're already doing booth rental, but you're also like, hey, I really want to grow my business, who's to say you can't grow your business and really focus on that? And then if you did want to expand and you're like, hey, I want to get into a bigger place later in the year or the beginning of next year, you could do that and you could build your own salon. You could start bringing in other, you know, like hairstylists that are coming in and they're either going to be renting from you or, you know, you're going to be getting a cut of whatever they're selling and what they're doing, right? I think that would be really smart. And I think that there may be some kind of a partnership that's going to come down the road, but I think that for right now, you're kind of like a one-woman show. I like how you go from the Fool kind of energy with like that gesture that's like tossing up the coins where you're like, okay, you know, is this a smart move? Is it not? To then this progression into, you know, the Queen of Pentacles where you're like, oh my gosh, like, you know, like now I'm like this super successful businesswoman. And a lot of it is because of the concessions that you're going to make from the get-go. So be conservative, be smart, think about where you want to be in a year. It doesn't mean that you need to go all out and go and get that huge salon, you know, and do that. It might mean that you're like, I'm going to just start with a very small space, or I'm going to have something that has 2 chairs and I can use it when I want. And maybe it means I'm going to bring somebody in when I'm not there. So it's covering your expenses. But I think it will expand. And I think that you may also find that through connecting and collaborating with another person, somebody's going to be like, we work well together. Let's freaking do it. Obviously, it could be somebody who's an earth sign. So it can be somebody who's got the cash, who's capable of being like, yeah, I can, you know, or I already have, you know, a lease, but I'm trying to bring somebody in who can help me run this business together. So look for an earth sign. So Taurus, Capricorn, Virgo, these can be some of the people that are kind of coming in. And she says, let's see, you're so right. I work in a chain salon and I booth rent, thinking about switching from booth rental to full time. Yeah, I think it's smart. I think that's smart. And I also feel like this may be the beginning of like growing your clientele and going somewhere else. And I know that that's kind of like frowned upon, but like that's just the energy. Like, you know, I mean, I've been there, done that. Certainly had to kind of pay my dues and like worked at a storefront for 5 years and like built up my clientele. And then I don't know, they kind of ran that place like I'm not even going to say, but at some point I was like, peace out, and then did my own thing and had to hit the ground running. So I'm not seeing anything catastrophic by you doing this. I think that it's going to be smart, and as long as you're being really smart about your budgeting and realistically how much you're working versus what you're getting paid, with the intention of growing and evolving your business so you can make some of the bigger jumps that I think you're going to be making spring of next year, I think it's going to be worth it in the long run. And this is also just about really fine-tuning anything that's connecting to your budgeting skills, your inventory, maybe adjusting your prices, you know, things like that, and like really knowing your worth. Because the Queen of Pentacles is the person who's like, yeah, I am going to charge, you know, like the $200 an hour to work with me, but you're going to get quality work and it's worth it. And so rather than feeling like you have to kind of scramble to have a lot of people that are going to be, I think, more affordable type of like, you know, kind of sessions and offerings, I think it's going to be you kind of adding upgrades. And so it can be things where you're like, maybe I'm going to be adding, you know, masks or face masks, or maybe I'm going to be offering, you know, higher quality products, or maybe I'm going to be offering like little perks and other things to create a more quality experience. So people are going to want to work with you. So focus more on the quality, not the quantity. And like that will help you really, I think, increase your sales, and you won't have to feel like you're just constantly having people circle in and circle out, right? Good luck. I hope it's a good one for you. Very exciting. I have a lot of Scorpio. Pretty much everybody in my life is a Scorpio rising, except for like maybe 1 or 2 people. But most of my family, my husband, I'm watching everybody kind of go through it, and they're all just like grinding. And I'm like laughing because I'm like, I just finished that transit. So have fun with that. Good luck, Crystal. All right, I've got Amiko and Brianna D. What's up, Dana? I'll add you to my list. All right, so what does Amiko have to say? Mercury in Aries, Taurus Taurus moon, Pisces rising. I'm definitely feeling financial strain right now. My boat job isn't stable and I'm so tired trying to get my art biz going, but far from making it. Far from making money. What's coming for me this month? Advice with finances and creativity. Energy to make art has been hard. I'm so tired. All right, let's take a look. You know, I really think that, and I was just talking about this with like the Mars-Neptune conjunction for Pisces risings, like that's going to be taking place later this month. And I talk about how Mars is coming into conjunction with Neptune, and a lot of you guys are like, how am I going to handle the financial situation? Where am I going to find the energy? What am I going to do? And I would watch the video when it comes out on Sunday. Yeah, is it Sunday? No, next Thursday. Sorry, I'm all backwards. I've been filming all week. It'll come up next Thursday. But for you, I would say the Mars, Saturn, Neptune stuff that's taking place is going to be like this new energy, this new drive that's going to come in to create something, and something that can bring money. Second house. She says, I've been working on this new boat for 6 months, not completely unstable, but weather tourism has made it hard to feel safe, and it's just energetically a lot. Not sure if I should get a second job. Basically, what I would say is with like the Five of Swords coming up, this can mean to some extent like you have to cut some of your losses. And it can feel kind of conflicting because there's a side of you that's just like, okay, you know, I want the stability and I want the consistency, but also there is this side of you that's like, no, I have to make sure that I'm like fighting for, you know, getting what I need so that way I can really focus on my art stuff. I'm not saying, hey, you should go and quit your job, but I am saying that this is about confronting some of the truths about this dynamic. And obviously, I know you like working, or you have liked working on the water. You've been doing this for a while, but it might mean that you're just kind of approaching this in a different way, where maybe you're going to be doing things that aren't going to be as impacted by what's going on with the weather. It can still be in things connected to tourism. It could still be things connected to even working, you know, on boats or you know, by beaches and things like that. But the Five of Swords tells me that there is a sense of you going like, I'm exhausted, and I also feel like if I keep going this way, I'm going to be depleted, and I'm not necessarily going to feel like I'm able to do what I need to do, and you're going to feel very conflicted. So there's like a lot of like back and forth energy that you're kind of getting. I do think also with the Five of Swords that it will get to a point where if you feel like you're putting on your artwork on hold, you'll start noticing that you're just kind of like really short-tempered. You're agitated. You're going to feel like it's harder for you to be present with the job that you're doing. It can also mean that it materializes where, you know, you're kind of feeling like you're kind of bumping egos and having like a little bit of like a back and forth that's going on with people who you're potentially working with. And you may feel like there is just like some people's kind of personalities that are rubbing you the wrong way. So be mindful of taking that into work. I'm not saying it's all you, but like there can be a sense of you being like worn out and kind of grinded down to where you're just like, I'm just not even friendly to be around, or I'm like, I'm not enjoying the experience. And like, you're going to be having very little patience for some of those situations. Not a bad idea to use this energy to be like, rather than just cutting and running, you're going to see what else is out there, because the Five of Swords is about when everybody else falls, you're still the last man standing. It also means that you do have some kind of job security there. I don't know if you have other people there that are not reliable, or people who are not always showing up or not always on time, but they do look at you as somebody that's like, okay, we can count on her. She's going to be there. And so I don't think they're going to take that for granted. But I do think if you're looking for other ways to be able to kind of find work in hospitality, may not be a bad idea to see what else is out there. The bottom card that you get is the Ace of Cups. So it is saying that it's going to keep bringing you back to what changes do you have to make, what sacrifices are you willing to make in order to really focus on what your joy is, what your pleasure is, what you love. So that way you can be from a place of creating, because when the Ace of Cups has kind of turned, you know, sideways, everything spills out. So if you're feeling depleted and you don't have the emotional bandwidth to be creating, it's not about being like, well, I have to be better about painting, you know, and creating. It's like, no, I have to actually be looking at this going like, there are some things where I have to cut my losses. And maybe it means that you find another position that's going to be something that you're kind of doing, you know, like part-time or back and forth, or it's more flexible. So you can just rest. So you feel like you have more room for inspiration, creativity, and fulfillment. It also is kind of indicating that as we're getting into the water months, it's going to be very different. So when things start picking up, as we're getting into June, July, I mean, obviously it's like almost always beautiful in Hawaii. I mean, I'm sure you guys have like your seasonal things, but it is saying that like there is going to be quite an emotional change and also quite a positive change that's going to be happening with some of the kind of issues revolving around like weather. Obviously the skies are kind of clearing and they're kind of parting. So it may be a matter of just hanging in there and seeing if there's a way for you to be able to just kind of be a little bit more flexible and like take some time, or if you can do something on the side just to kind of buy some time until you start seeing you're getting into the summertime and things are going to change. So you can feel, I think, more inspired to do the work that you want. But it is about coming to this realization that some things are just not working, that if you continue doing the work the way that you're doing, it's not going to allow you that time to focus on your art. So just be mindful of that, because there is some resistance here. And sometimes when I see this, there's burnout. Readings have now closed. I'm catching up on the chat, guys. Sorry, I have not seen everything. Okay. Well, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Been working on this new boat for 6 months, not completely usable. Okay, catching up. Having an issue submitting, not sure who can help. You got to scan the QR code, but we already did call last call. Having issues, one card reading sent. Okay, thank you, we got that. There we go. I do feel like I need to bite the bullet and take my losses with the shifts being caught. I don't really want to look for another job. Is in the budget better? So maybe just better to budget in the meantime. Well, yeah. I mean, five of swords would be cutting your losses. I mean, it's quite literally going to be you going like, if I have to just kind of cut back, I need to do that for the time being. And if you feel like you can budget between now and then, because to me it looks like it's going to start changing in June. We're in April. So if you can do that for 2 months, sure. But it also is saying that if you get to a point where you're like, okay, this is not going to be sustainable for me in the long run, I can't do this, you're going to be more open to looking at something else, right? So hopefully that's helpful for you. I do think it will improve though. And it's really about getting into a schedule work-wise where you feel like you can be inspired again. So it may not necessarily be just that job. It's just going to be if you're working, you need to find something that's going to be more flexible. All right. We have got, who's next? Oh, let's see. So that was Emiko. So we've got Brianna D. And after that, we've got Vanessa and then Brianna C. All right. So Brianna D says, question, is there a romantic man of interest coming in for me? Thanks. That's me, Aquarius Sun, Taurus Moon, Virgo Rising. All right, let's take a look. How was that retrograde for you? In your 7th house. A lot of, what do I want in relationships? What's coming? All right, let's see what we can tell Brianna about whether or not there's somebody coming for her. All right, in this order, we have got the 4 of Swords, the 3 of Cups, and the Magician. What happened in March or February and March? I'm wondering, because the 4 of Swords was like, I think I'm going to sit this out for a little bit. Or like, I think I'm going to take a break, or I think I'm going to be reflecting on, you know, what I want, what's not working. I'm going to take a step back, healing from something for sure, or just feeling like you need some more time to put yourself out there. That's what you're coming from, right? And so I think about, like I said, you know, the last couple of weeks, having had your chart ruler retrograde in your 7th, there was a lot of like healing past relationship issues, getting closure, moving on, having miscommunications or misunderstandings. And so that 4 of Swords makes sense that you're just like, I don't even know if I want to get back in the game, but you had some things that you had to kind of sort out. I like the fact that you have the 3 of Cups coming up. This can mean that you're more open to the idea of just getting out there, mixing and mingling, and that you're just like, I'm just open to meet people. There's no one defined person. However, the Magician can be somebody that's kind of coming up. But I think the 3 of Cups is about you kind of going out, socializing, meeting people. There may be a surplus of people that are going to start to show up also. So I would look for social connections, parties, invitations, where friends are saying, hey, we're having get-togethers, or come to our house, or come to our place, or friends who are trying to play matchmaker, because Jupiter rules your 7th and it's in the 11th. And this can mean that there is going to be a celebration, a party, a gathering that you're going to potentially be invited to that can be really great because there's going to be like a new pool of people that you can meet. Could be an outdoor event, like think like a festival, or people who are all going to like see a live concert or like music or something, a bar even. It's like going and being with groups of people. I'm not being so much on the hunt for a person, but more wanting to surround yourself with people and kind of open the door to new potential connections. That's how you're going to meet this person. So you get the Magician card, which is basically talking about manifesting something that's kind of coming in, literally manifesting. It can also mean that as above, so below. So if you are envisioning somebody who has certain qualities, they have certain tendencies, they're going to be acting, looking, dressing, feeling a certain way, it's going to help you kind of vibrationally connect to that person. I like the Magician card, although it can go one of 2 ways. It can be somebody who looks really amazing, really great. You meet them and they're just like super charming and you're like, what's the catch? And then you start to get to know them and then you're like, oh my God, is this guy a player? You know, like, is he kind of playing tricks? But it can also be somebody who surprises you. And so I think with like the 3 of Cups coming up, I would just say be wary of third-party energy. Like be wary of somebody who's like, yeah, I'm single. And it's like, is he getting out of something? You know, although it's just saying take your time when it comes to getting to know somebody who's new, who you don't totally know. This can also mean that you're less focused on commitment. You're more focused on being in the moment. You're more focused on the experience. You're not really trying to kind of like tie someone or like something down. Obviously, having like a Virgo rising and a Taurus moon, you know, I think that you're going to be more so grounded. I also think that, you know, having that Aquarius sun and the eclipses that are going to be happening in Leo in opposition to your sun are going to be pretty big, especially over the summer. So over the next 3 months is where you want to kind of keep your eyes open. Anybody new who you meet who's like dark, tall, mysterious, or somebody who's just really unconventional or very different, I would be paying attention to. Because this isn't going to be somebody who's like the type of people that you've dated before. The magician is like somebody who turns everything around. They change things. Maybe they're entrepreneurs, you know, maybe they're, like I said, a little mysterious or a little bit harder to read. But it can definitely be somebody who wakes something up in you again and makes you kind of open to the idea of love, and you're more receptive of that. And like, it looks like you're going to find them when you're not looking for them. So the key is to not be looking for them. It's to be putting yourself in places where you could just have like a meet cute kind of situation where you run into them or you're introduced to them, and it's going to happen organically. Hopefully that's helpful for you. All right, we have got Vanessa, who's got 3 questions for me. You're welcome, my dear. So one is in regards to the old place you moved out of, and the management company is giving you a hard time about refunding your security deposit because you gave it to the original owner, you have the receipt, and they're like, yeah, you're shit out of luck. And so you're like, what is the deal? I paid them, and you've been kind of reading tenants' rights, and apparently, even though there's new ownership, they're still supposed to owe it to you. So let's see what the cards say with that, and what you need to know about getting this money back from the new owners of the place that you moved out of. Okay, so the card that you get is the King of Swords. Here's the deal. I do think you have a point, right? And, you know, I mean, you're telling me that you're reading up on it, but the King of Swords is like you going like, yeah, I've read the code. You know, I went and looked at the law. Like, it does not matter. I have a legally binding document. I have a document that's saying that I moved into this place. I signed a lease. We signed a legal agreement. I gave them a deposit. And now I have left this place. And now I have this receipt. And I also have this lease. And it needs to be kind of like reinforced. If you were to take this to court, which I'm not saying you should, but if you were to basically threaten to take them to court, or basically say, hey, you know what, if you guys don't give this to me, then, you know, I'm going to take it to small claims, or I'm going to go and hire an attorney, you may be able to serve them like legally. Like, you might be able to send them a official mail, you know, required for them to kind of to sign. Might be worth talking to somebody legally just to be like, hey, could you draft something? You know, can I pay you to do that? This is the situation. Because to me, it seems like it's a slam dunk. The fact that you have the documents, the fact that the law is on your side, it looks like that if you were to have somebody who is going to be stern, also somebody who's in that profession who can actually contact them and basically send them a legal document saying, look, here's the deal, you can pay them or we can take you guys to court, and then they're potentially going to be on the hook for paying legal fees. It would just be smart for them to just cut their losses and pay you what is owed to you. And like, it's a slam dunk. So I do think you need to have somebody who is going to be able to help you with that process though. If you want to use AI, and certainly I'm hearing a lot of people who are doing this. I saw something the other day where somebody was saying that their rent went up like $400 a month, and he fed the entire lease into like this AI, and the AI like read all the documents and like the claims of the lease. And because there was a bunch of violations by the owner of the property, or I guess like the company that owned the property, it determined that there was like over $10,000 in like fees that they owed the tenant. And so they sent that to them and was like, here you go, this is the law. And then the tenant sent it to their attorney. The attorney called them and was like, yeah, you're right. Sent them a check for $10,000. No, their rent still went up $400 a month, but do the math, right? That gives you some time to decide if you want to move. Might be worth something trying, but it does look like the information, the documents, and the law is on your side. And if you are able to talk to an attorney, or if you do feel like you can put something together that's professional, that's like, here's all the numbers, here's the information in the law, are you going to pay this? If you're not going to pay this, this is going to go to court, then they may potentially take it more seriously. You also asked about what I see. Hold on, you sent me 2. So there was one with the security deposit, and then the other one was saying they signed a lease 15 years ago, apparently, And then the other one you asked me was about the 911 job. So there was like the emergency job that had opened, and you're wondering if you should keep doing what you're doing or if you should apply for that other position. All right, well, let's take a look. What did the cards say? First of all, let me give you another card about this situation because you paid for 2. So this is also about the legal situation with the lease. 2 of coins. So that tells me that you're going to put the ball in their court. You're going to be like, I know you've already reached out to them and you're like, hey, can you give me my money? No, like it's almost like you have to do something that's going to be either, you know, legal, or it's going to be that you're going to send them something that's going to be official and you're going to be like, I need a response. And if this doesn't happen, then like, I'm going to be taking you guys to small claims. You want to do something that's putting the ball in their court. They've already responded to you and told you they're not doing it. So I would definitely it might be worth like, and you might be able to get on like LegalZoom, or you might be able to get on like a site where you can like talk to somebody. There may also be some kind of legal aid that you can probably find also, I would assume, being in Southern California, because this can be about people who are doing like pro bono work, people who might be associated with like the housing, you know, within the county that's going to represent, you know, like renters' rights. And they don't want that happening because that could open up a bigger can of worms now that they're owning this new property and like they're managing it and they're doing all of that stuff. They don't want that hanging over their head because that could result in them having fines. That could also result in them kind of having like, you know, being tagged for, you know, somebody who's not going to be treating tenants very well. And I think that, yeah, this actually works in your favor because you can be like, look, you can either pay me or I'm going to be taking this to like the housing board and I'm going to be taking this to other people and basically letting them know that you're basically, you know, like frauding me and not giving me something that's owed to me. And if you can prove that, you may also be able to qualify for being able to get some legal aid. And this represents that kind of scales, like the balance and the back and forth with, if you can prove that you have a slam dunk case, and they could potentially say they're going to go and represent you. They don't want any other people that are going to be going through the courts, but they may be able to speak on your behalf and contact them and basically be like, look, you need to right the wrong because this is like, you know, not legal what you're doing. And then in regards to the job for the 911 position, let's see what we can find for you here. Well, I like this. I'm wondering if you got like a, like, did you get an email or something? Like, did you sign up for there to be emails about whether or not there was going to be open positions or things that are coming up, or were you looking for it? Because the Ace of Swords tells me it's something about direct connection, direct communication. Maybe if you've applied before in the past, they're coming back and they're letting you know that there's like new kind of openings or whatever. And maybe you're getting like job listings that are kind of coming through. I love the Ace of Swords because it does talk about swift action. It talks about communication. I think at this point in time, even though you may have kind of like reserved yourself from feeling like you want to go and work that, because I know you've kind of stayed in the position that you've been in, like, you know the flow now. Now you know what it takes to go through those interviews. You know how tedious it can kind of be for all the skills. You also know about some of the training, some of the hours. And I think you're better informed now. So usually when aces come up, for me, it's like, yes, you should go and apply for that. You should submit a resume. You should ask for an interview. You should probably call them and like talk to them and get in contact with them, because it does talk about something that could start very swiftly. I also feel like there may be some revisions or some changes that you're actually making to your resume. And I don't think it's necessary, but the Ace of Swords is like going in and going, okay, what's new? What's changed with my job experience? How can I now be taking some of these kind of skills or experiences and putting it out there and kind of letting them know, hey, this is what I'm doing now. You know, this is how long I've been employed. This is the new position that I'm in, because it might somehow kind of apply to what you're doing. I sent them an email last night highlighting tenants' rights. Well, you put the ball in their court, but if they come back, I would honestly 100% go and find an AI, whether you want to use like Grok or you want to go and use what is it, ChatGPT, although I'm not a fan of that, and be like, this is the city, this is the county I live in, you know, like, you know, help me basically generate a letter to my landlord or to the management company because they have not paid me, and explain the situation and help them draft something up that's going to be like professional. And just let them know to cite either all of like the codes or anything that's connected to housing, and then also ask them for resources for legal aid for housing and anything that's connected to being able to support you through other community programs, because they are out there. And like I said, he's not going to want to have something hanging over his head, because it looks like it would just make sense for him to be like, all right, you know, we're just going to pay her what we owe her, so this like goes away. But with the application for the emergency kind of response, like 911 dispatch, I would say do it. But I want you to do something different to your application or something different to your resume so it's standing out from other applications that you have done in the past. So go through that, read through that, make sure you're refining it, update some things. And you may have some pretty quick back and forth communication in regards to an interview or the position. So I really, really, really recommend doing that. Okay, great. So if you already used AI, then now what you need to do is you need to go and ask them specifically, what aid do I have in this situation? Because I've been there, like living in LA, I've dealt with some stuff with some landlords, and I can tell you that I can't remember the exact association it was, but there was like 2 that I ended up talking to about like tenants' rights and stuff. And like, I didn't even have to even threaten to go to like small claims or court. I was like, dude, had issues with my house, was out of my house, I was paying rent and then was not reimbursed. And like within a matter of 2 months, like they went back and forth and they resolved the situation and then I got reimbursed. So I would really recommend looking for resources that are going to help you with that because they are out there in LA, especially with just how many crappy landlords that they have in that city, unfortunately. And obviously with the Ace of Swords coming up, just in general in the spread, it's like basically saying, yes, you're having to go and search for this information. Yes, you're having to write things up. Yes, you're having to really focus on, you know, how you're kind of putting things together and how you're coming across and how you're being spoken. But it's about being more assertive and knowing, obviously, that you have, I think you have, what was your rising sign again? Cancer, right? So yeah, it's about basically going and dealing with like authority figures and, you know, like going back and forth with people about like money that's owed to you and like literally dealing with government institutions as Saturn and Neptune are kind of going into your 10th who can help you through this process. So before you even consider going and talking to an attorney or trying to get somebody to do that, look at the legal aid and the resources, place some phone calls and talk to some people and let them know also when you follow up who you're going to be contacting. Because Ace of Swords is like, okay, cool, you're not willing to work with me. This is the law. This is what I'm owed. Even though you've changed ownerships, like, I just want you to know, these are all the people that I'm going to be contacting. And like, I am going to let them know that like what you're doing is illegal and then see what they do. Because swords are meant to be defensive, right? But it's kind of good for just like telling people what's up and like really seeing that you're going to get some responses that are going to be quite quick and kind of handling the situation because you're being assertive. All right, we have Brianna, and then we have Corey and Tiana, and it's Brianna C. I think we might have more than one in here. Just wanted to make sure I give you that clarity. Brianna C says, I might not be able to make the live. This has been a frustrating week. My question is, what's the overarching theme for me this month in April of 2026? I'm a Scorpio sun, Virgo moon, Gemini rising. All right, let's take a look. So what is the overall theme for the month of April? If you're going to get it, it may not be something that you're getting until the air months. So it would be Gemini season like May, June, or it would be the fall going into September, October, because that's the Ace of Swords. All right, so let's give Brianna an overall energy for what's going to be happening for the month ahead. Oh, bummer, man. Well, let's work it out. Let's see what's going on. So we've got the Five of Pentacles coming up, which is a difficult card because the Five of Pentacles is about feeling left out. But I think about Gemini risings and I think about how Mercury, your chart ruler, is going to be meeting with Saturn and Mars in your 11th house, where you could quite literally be like, what the heck? Why didn't I get invited to that thing with my friends? Or, you know, why did they not reach out to me? Or, you know, why am I not going back and forth, you know, with so-and-so? Like, why are they not including me or responding to me? So there can be this feeling of feeling isolated or feeling kind of separated or feeling like friendships are being tested or there is a sense of not getting your needs met. This is also about wanting to focus on having community and connection with people who are going to make you feel empowered, make you feel valued, people who are going to be showing up for you. And so if you are facing some tests in regards to social kind of dynamics, friends that aren't really kind of being good friends, or people you're having falling outs with, it's pushing you basically to be like, I need something more, right? I need something more. I'm willing to kind of go your own way and get out there and connect with people who are going to be valuing you and not making you feel like you have to work so hard or try so hard just to get people to do like the bare minimum. I don't know if that makes sense. The fact that that's coming up with like the Wheel of Fortune is it's saying like in a way this is a good thing, and it's super karmic, right? So Saturn kind of going through there is karma, where you might be like, I have one last conversation with somebody and then I'm just like done. It can also mean that it's starting to reveal people and show you like who's not meant to be like in your corner or in your tribe. That's wild. I've just been feeling left out at my job. Okay, so whatever's going on where you're not feeling included, it's going to incentivize you to, on one hand, be like, okay, how can I make lemonade? And if there are people that I have to get along with or have to work with, you're going to be going out of your way to feeling like you're going to be trying to do more. And if you're feeling like you're not getting the response that you want, you're basically going to go, that's fine. You know what? I'm here to work. As long as we can work and have that dynamic, that's cool. But like, it's going to be pushing you to have friendships and relationships outside of work, right? Mars is connected to your 6th house. So I would say hiking groups, fitness clubs, going to the gym, walking with friends. Like, it's actually not supposed to be about making friends with people at work. It's trying to get you to make friends out of work. So I definitely feel like if you do that, it's going to allow you to kind of see things a little bit differently and not feel like it has to be about socializing at work. And also it's going to show you that there are some people that, are maybe giving you the cold shoulder and they're not including you and stuff. And it's giving you the opportunity to be like, hey, is there a problem? Like, what's the deal? And confronting people to get clarity and see, is it just you that's kind of thinking that you're not being included, or are there people that actually have issues and they're not getting on well with you and you have to say something so you can kind of clear the air. It will be for the better. So whatever is happening, I really feel like it's a good thing for you to kind of talk about it and, get it out in the open, so that way you feel like you can kind of be a part of the crew or part of like a team again. So hopefully that's helpful for you. You'll definitely see that right around mid-month. All right, we've got Corey, and then Tiana, and then Amanda. What's up, Corey? Oh boy, on and off so ex-girlfriend that you've been on and off with for the last 2 years. You haven't seen each other since the end of December, but she's consistently calling and texting me once a week, and we briefly chat. What's the latest energies between us and what's going on? Will we reunite? I am a Gemini rising, Cancer sun, Sag moon. She's a Virgo rising, she's a Virgo sun, Libra rising, Aries moon. That's interesting, being that you have that Gemini rising, because like Uranus is coming into your 7th, your 1st, it's opposing your 7th. Obviously Jupiter, which rules your 7th, is in like the 12th, and that's why she's kind of hovering around, and she's like, I'm still here for you, like I still care about you. And her being a Libra rising, she's got, Saturn Neptune going through her 7th, and like, her moon is there. So it's like this hot and cold connection with like a partner. If you remember, I'll let you know. I'll see if I have emails from them. I'll check my email. To her credit, she has tried to see me, but timing has. What can we tell Corey about this back and forth, off and on thing that he's got with this girl? Does it look like it's going to be something that is going to help? Oh, so we've got this again. Wow, so we've got the Wheel of Fortune, the Chariot, and the Knight of Wands. Not in that order. Wheel of Fortune, Knight of Wands, the Chariot. Well, my thought on this is that it's like a timing thing. It's definitely a timing thing. Especially her being like Libra rising. Like I could see where Saturn, Neptune in the 6th house and the 7th house is like, okay, well, my schedule and his schedule, it's not meshing. There's also been like the sense of giving each other some breathing room and some space, which I know it's been several months. Mercury retrogrades are going to be interesting for you this year, with like the Mercury retrogrades and how it's impacting Uranus in your sign. It's going to have you communicating and thinking differently, so you can go from one direction to like going in the other. And I think the Wheel of Fortune is saying like things are about to change for the better, right? So it's kind of saying things are on the up and up. Like there is going to be better timing for you guys to connect. I would anticipate, for her this next month with all the planets going through her 7th house, it's going to be about being like, look, what are we doing here? Like what's going on? And for you, I think that it might be about you kind of being like, well, are we friends? Are we not friends? Like, what is this? Like trying to figure out whether or not you guys are just going to be moving to the friend zone, or if there's still a potential. I feel like she can be stubborn, and I am about, and so am I, about who reaches out to each other first. It's the Aries moon. I think that what's interesting is that it seems to me like both parties want to see each other. Right? So, the Knight of Wands kind of coming up is basically saying there's still connection there. She's still interested in seeing what you got going on, what you're doing. She's trying to show you that she's interested while she's giving you space. There is the potential for you guys to actually go and do something. So whether that's being like, hey, let's get together, let's go and do an activity. I would say, especially if she's a Libra rising, like things that are more active are going to be better right now, where you're like, let's go for, you know, a walk, let's go for a hike, let's go for a bike ride, like try to get outside. Like that would be really beneficial. Something that deals with movement. Or you might be like, hey, you know, I'm busy this week, but I've got a weekend that's kind of coming up. Do you want me to set some time aside? Like, let's go and do something together. Let's go and do something, you know, for a couple hours and like kind of vibe it out and see how we're doing. Don't plan like a weekend trip or something after not seeing them, but go and do an activity together. So it's not like so awkward and weird when you guys are just kind of sitting there after not seeing each other for a bit. And it looks like the passion is still there. Like there is going to be a sense of there still being a spark there. I also feel like, you know, the Knight of Wands can be saying that from that point forward, things can actually move forward quite quickly. It can also mean that with the Chariot card coming up, that you're really going to see progress that's going to be happening closer to about June, July. Maybe around full moons, because that is connected to Cancer. But I think that June and July is when you're going to start to see some kind of progress. Corey says, yeah, she did get frustrated with us not making any big moves or anything a few months ago. Well, I mean, what's interesting is like she is expecting more from relationships now. Like Saturn going into her 7th house is represented by her going, well, you know, am I with a partner who's hesitant to move in together or settle down or commit to me? And, you know, Saturn deals with her home and her living situation. So in her mind, the next logical step in a relationship is like talking about those things. But maybe with Neptune being there in this last year, you're like, I just don't feel like it's the right time yet. I also think that, you know, because Jupiter is kind of connecting to your 7th house, you're going to find that like the retrogrades and the things that are kind of happening in June that are Mercury retrograding in Cancer right next to Jupiter, you might have a better kind of conversation and understanding about what your guys' kind of perspectives are in terms of relationships and also like your future over the next couple of years. And you can decide whether or not you guys are on the same path, but it's like almost like once you guys come together, things are going to move forward very quickly. And the Libra rising horoscope does say that suddenly a partner is going to kind of mature and kind of figure out their path and what they want. They're going to be more assertive and they're going to have to work for it. So that's reflecting you, even though you're a Gemini rising. I think the Chariot card is also kind of saying that there is a way for both of you guys to steer things in the direction that you want to do, in the direction that you want to go individually together. So it's learning about kind of like balance, diplomacy, and like honestly honoring each other's kind of independence while you're kind of creating that space for you guys to kind of be a couple. So yeah, there is definitely an undercurrent of bond between us. I don't see it going away. And I think that you may be surprised that seeing her and connecting with her, it's like you're going to fall right back into the groove of kind of like being in a relationship again. And things can progress very quickly. So you have to really kind of keep that in the back of your mind, because if that's not what you want or if that's not what you're kind of looking for, you can have a tendency to be like, okay, let's start this again and see how it's going. But you guys will fall right back into a relationship. So there's not going to be any conversations, nothing that you're defining. And I would hold off to have some of those more important conversations. If it doesn't come up naturally in April, it's going to come up closer to the month of June. So timing wise seems to kind of match up, particularly because I think about like the retrogrades in her 10th house, where you might be like, yeah, my lease is going to be up at the end of summer. I'm more open to discussing these things. There's going to be something going on with like your home, or like, you know, feeling like there's been enough time to feel it out before you consider making some more serious commitments. Seeing each other, I do think will happen though. And I think it's going to happen organically. Nobody needs to force it. But I do think she is waiting to see if you're going to kind of take action in the situation and be like, let's do something. And April is the test month basically for that, to see if you're going to kind of step up to the plate. But there can be some really great kind of emotional fulfillment and kind of alignment. And maybe it's just been a matter of timing, and like the timing is a little bit better now. Hopefully that's helpful for you. It's like me, Libra rising, Aries moon. Difficult combo. We've got Tiana, and then Amanda and Jamie. What's up, Tiana? I refuse to chase her though when she pulls away randomly, when she has done multiple times. Yeah, it's like the Aries moon is like she wants to see you fight. She wants to see you fight back. That's what it is. So Tiana says, when can I anticipate what's coming towards me in April? You're welcome, Corey. All right, Tiana, what can we see? What's coming? What's coming up in April for you? What do the cards say? Oh my God, what is with this card? I banish it. I banish it. I've seen it a lot for clients, a lot. The Devil card and the Five of Coins keeps coming up. What is coming up for you? Feeling that lack. Like there is a lack there. Like there is a sense of you being like, why am I not breaking through? Why am I not getting what I want? What is the problem? Like what is the holdup? And for everybody listening, especially if you have cardinal placements within the first 10 degrees, or if you happen to have planets that are in the first 10 degrees of Aries, watching Mars and Saturn come in conjunction, people are going to be like, this month is tough. I am facing some things where I'm feeling very stuck, or I'm feeling very limited. But the lesson here is to not just force it. It's also not to blow through it. And so when the 5 of coins comes up, people can be like, you know what, I'm feeling strapped for cash, or I'm feeling like I am not being included in things, or I'm feeling like I'm under the weather, or I'm not getting my needs met. And there is something kind of going on there. There she is. There it is. Okay, so she says, oh yes, I do have that 10 degrees of Aries. Well, then buckle up, get a helmet, girl, because you're going to see around, I would say really the energy is like the 10th of April through about the 22nd, because it's Mercury, Mars, Saturn, and it's like, depending on what house it's in or whatever, Aries is your relationship to self, okay? So if, let's say you have Aries in the 10th house, your role when it comes to your career, right? Aries in the 5th house, your role when it comes to creativity. So look at the house that it's in, because that's where you're going to be like, I am getting crushed. And you will feel like that, but it's also about kind of just like learning to kind of just take it on the jaw like a champ and being like, okay, I'm going to keep pushing and I'm not going to let it stop me. But it also is trying to get you to realize where you do need more support. You do need more help. You do need more, I think, people who are going to be saying like, I've got your back. And maybe it's in a sense of somebody being like, hey, I'm going to come over and make you dinner. Or somebody who's like, hey, you know what? I'm going to, give you some credit where credit is due. Or I'm going to be loaning you some cash. There's something that you're lacking that you're going to be like, I need this. And when you start to kind of feel the tightening, it's important for you to recognize that you are supported, you're just not seeing things physically manifest as quickly, and there could be a little bit of a delay in getting what you want. Confirmation card that I get on the bottom is the Queen of Wands. So it can be that there is a sense of you going, how can I get creative with my finances? How can I make something happen? How can I make lemonade? And this is going to be about you feeling through the pressure, feeling inspired to take action and kind of do something crafty. So she's saying it's financial. You're going to feel it. But is it like dire straits, not able to pay your bills, down and out? No, but your mind can go there very quickly. So I think with the Queen of Wands, I would be doing something very simple to be calling in abundance. Like I think Queen of Wands would be like, I'm going to be going through my closet and trying to figure out like what stuff I could potentially sell and get rid of that I don't need. It's brought me joy and happiness, but I got to get creative. Or what side hustle do I have that I'm willing to do to just make some extra cash, but it could be something fun and creative. Maybe it means that you're finding creative ways to kind of like work on your budget, or maybe you're just deciding that you want to get kind of like witchy with it. Queen of Wands could literally be you being like, all right, I'm going to take this birthday candle, I'm going to roll it in some oil, I'm going to put some cinnamon on it, I'm going to sit there and I'm going to be like, I receive the abundance, everything's coming my way. Finding ways to get crafty with the situation instead of feeling like you're being victimized by it. You're like, okay, I'm going to use this as kind of, fuel to kind of get to where I want to go. So if things get tough this month, I'm sorry, but anybody who's got those planets in Aries, we're definitely going to feel that. Hang in there, get witchy with it. You can do lots of magic with a birthday candle. You'd be surprised. All right, I've got Amanda, Jamie, Cassidy, and then Kimberly. What's up, Amanda? Oh, my eyes. Amanda says, hey girl, my ex, the Sag rising Cancer sun, has been unblocking me and blocking me on social media for a few weeks now. He is still with the rebound, a much younger Aries sun. All must not be appears on social media. Between them, pull some cards and tell me what's up. I told you, girl, I was like, look, he's a Sag rising. You're going to see all the Saturn Neptune stuff going through his 5th house, where suddenly something that was younger and fun is like, is this actually fun? And like some trouble with romance. Well, obviously, we're not wishing that, but I was like, that's when it's going to happen. So let's take a look. Let's see. What can we see about this 8th house Cancer? Ugh. All right. Why is he blocking and unblocking her? What's going on? Is he trying to send a message? Are they on the fritz? Like, what is happening? All right, we've got 8 of Coins, Lover's card, and the King of Cups. I mean, Eight of Coins is like him being like, man, this is taking work. Like that's my interpretation. And it's not a bad card. It's just him being like, it's going to take work. And whether that's him figuring it's going to take more work to get your attention, or it's going to be a lot of work to try to make this relationship work, and maybe it's becoming monotonous and it's not fun because there's a lot of attention to detail and having to be super focused in that situation, and he might feel like it's becoming draining or he's bored. Like just something that's tedious, you know? And like he's being strategic with this, because with the Eight of Coins, it's like somebody being like, okay, if I do this, then this is going to happen. And if I do that, that's going to happen. And like, it's like very calculated. So he probably knows that and obviously he knows that you know that he's with somebody, but he is also probably figuring, yeah, this is going to fuck with her. Like, I'm going to block her. I'm going to unblock her. I'm going to block her and unblock her until maybe she's just going to like follow me, or maybe she's going to send me a message and be like, what is your deal? Like, he's trying to get a rise out of you. Like, that's what's happening. The Lover's card is kind of talking about a split. Now, that could be literally a split, or it can be figuratively, where it's like, well, he's like, is there still a potential there? You know, like before I completely veer off into this relationship and get locked into this, like, do I still want to go back to that person? Is there a connection? I'm going to tell you, Uranus is going into Gemini. I told you like months ago, I was like, dude, as soon as it goes into his 7th house, you're going to start seeing that he's going to be like, do I want this or that? It's very much the energy of the Lover's card, Gemini. And probably going to see some shakeups, May and June. That's going to happen. And unfortunately, part of like Mars going into the 7th house is it means one relationship might end while another one is beginning. So whether it's him trying to come back to you, if it's him talking to another person, like this has still red flags all over it. I just want to really reiterate that. And I think that I would wait and see what happens in May. I think that for sure you're going to see something happen. Sometime between April and July, between all the transits going on, and the North and the South Node are squaring Uranus, which means it's forcing him to communicate with a partner. Be that in his own relationship right now and communicate what's working and not working, or he's going to be texting, messaging, or trying to connect with somebody on social media to be like, what's going on? Red flags for you going back and forth with him, because this is telling me that right now he's considering his options. It's not like he's like looking at this going like, oh my God, you're the one I'm supposed to be with. Because if the 6 of Cups were coming up, if the Ace of Cups were coming up, I would be like, he really wants to connect with you. When in reality, I'm like, he's a little bored. I think it's becoming a little bit too much work in this relationship, and he's looking for temptation or something that can be kind of stimulating, and he's definitely trying to get a rise out of you. And I think it's because he's not going to be the one that's going to reach out to you. He's trying to see if he can get you to do it. That would open that can of worms through the Lover's card, which is just kind of like, oh, well, now I've got something else that can kind of like keep me kind of, interested and satisfied. Do not give him that like gratification. Don't do that. The King of Cups comes up. So as much as it pains me to say this, there is love there. It is saying that there are still feelings there. And I think maybe he is quite surprised that he's not able to get a rise out of you the way that he thought that he could. I don't know. I don't know if you're the type of person who would be like, what are you doing? Like, what's with the back and forth? But I think he thinks that's what you would do and how you would respond. And he's kind of like tempting you. And I think that there are feelings there, and he's just kind of like now kind of thinking about, well, maybe I did care about her, and maybe the grass wasn't greener. And there is a sense of him already weighing his options and like really wanting to go where he feels like he's going to be loved the most. I mean, you guys had a relationship for several years. He ended up kind of going and doing what he did, and he's got this other person that he did all this relationship PR with. But like, I don't think things are going as well. And I think that he's bored, and I would be really kind of careful getting caught in the crossfire of that. If you do interact with him though, like he's gonna be really friendly. Like the King of Cups is somebody who's just gonna be like super love bomby, or somebody who's like very flirty and like very affectionate. So don't be fooled. The Lover's card is saying that he's bored and he's looking for something that can entertain him. And I would say, do you really want to be that other person? Like, I would wait until you see the fallout. There may be something that's going to happen in May, June, but for sure by the beginning of July, there will be one person that's out. There's another person that's coming in. Do you want to be that other person? Right? Because Uranus is going to go in and out of his 7th house a bit. I mean, it's fully in Gemini now, but depending on whether or not, like, the degree of his descendant, I mean, it could be several months, it could be several years before you see that kind of finale. I would be holding out for something better, but I do think he's going to try to woo you over if you're interacting with him. But I think he's just playing games, to be honest with you. And I think he's bored. So be careful with that one. King of Cups, definitely. In his feelings, for sure. That's how you know you've got him. That's why you're just kind of like, if you're noticing he's blocking and unblocking you, go and fucking block him. Block him. Beat him in his own game. Once you realize he's unblocked you, go and block him and stop looking at his page. So he realizes that you're like, I see you, and then he's going to have to find another way to connect and communicate with you. Don't make it so easy for him to have access to you is what I would do. And make him realize that you're not playing games. That's always fun. I always like doing that. All right, we've got Jamie, and then Cassidy, and then Kimberly. All right, what's up, Jamie? And also Dana. No, I don't think so. I think he's bored and it's becoming too much work, and that's why he's looking for something else. So I'm gonna actually take, just give me a second here because I'm looking at my super chat. I have to take Dana. I almost forgot about her. So Jamie, Cassidy, and Kimberly, you guys are on deck, but I need to take Dana's super chat. All right, Miss Dana. She says, I have a son that has not spoke to me in years due to his own choices. Okay. His sun is 19 degrees Capricorn, 17 degrees Gemini moon, and he's a Virgo rising. He gets out of prison today, and he is coming. Is he coming in my direction? A little concerned about the spirit of him. All right, well, that's a good question. Let's take a look what I can tell you. So, Virgo rising. Gosh, he's so mutable, but he's got that Capricorn sun. All right. So, does it look like she's going to be connecting with her son who's just getting out of prison? Coming from a man's perspective, that's embarrassing. That's hilarious. All right. 1, 2, 3. So what can you tell us about this situation? There is that damn card again. My goodness. All right, so we have got the 5 of Pentacles, the Temperance card, and the 9 of Wands. When the time is right. I think that, in my opinion, with the 5 of Pentacles coming up as the first card, it's almost like, and I don't know what happened with you guys. I don't know if he burned bridges. I don't know if there was like a sense of like you trying to help him, and then it was like, you're like, there's nothing else I can do. And feeling like depleted because you were constantly either putting yourself out there, trying to help him, trying to assist him, get on his feet and save him. And he was not appreciative, or he was not willing to take the help, and he had to like learn the hard way, right? Five of Coins is very much like, okay, well, I burned all my bridges, and so now I am in a situation where I'm on the street, or I'm getting into trouble, or it could even be, somebody who is suffering and having like addiction issues. I don't know if he had those problems, but 5 of Pentacles coming up with the Temperance is pretty common for somebody who just like can't cope and they're really struggling. And so that's the past. That's what you're coming away from. Now we're in the Temperance card. So it is kind of saying that, yes, there is going to be a time for you to connect with him. I would say because the Temperance card is associated with Sagittarius, I'd be looking closer to like right around the time he's having a full moon in Sag. That's going to be in Gemini season. So that'll be sometime like, I think, in June. That one will be interesting too, because it's going to be in opposition to Uranus, so it can represent some unexpected communication and connection with extended relatives, family, siblings, parents, that kind of stuff. But it's saying that right now it's like he's in limbo. Temperance is like, yes, he's just kind of coming out of prison, but he might be going into, like a halfway house. He might be going into a program that's going to be helping him kind of remain on the right kind of path. Maybe working, maybe getting some kind of support or something that's connected to health or mental health, and just making sure that he's getting kind of grounded. So I don't immediately expect your son to like sit up on your doorstep, and be like, hey, I'm home. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. Within a couple of weeks time, I do think you're going to hear from him, but I feel like this is going to be a adjustment period for him. And it's a timing kind of aspect too. Like, I don't see him reaching out to you immediately, and I don't see you reaching out to him. I think there's a sense of you going, I have this feeling I'm going to hear from him, but he needs to do it on his own time. And I'm going to let him go through his process of kind of getting settled before, kind of connecting with me. Likely what you will see is like a very different person. Obviously coming out of, being in like the prison system, that's got to be a lot, but very different. Like, I don't know if there's been a shift in his philosophy, if there's been a shift in his beliefs, if he's become more spiritual, if he's been doing a lot of reflecting. But the Temperance card can basically be saying that he's coming back and he's like been really focused on working on his issues and healing himself. being more grounded and like being able to kind of approach life in a different way. The Nine of Wands comes up, which is kind of saying that he still is feeling a bit discouraged and he's feeling a bit depleted. Like his spirit can be heavy. Like there can be a sense of him being like, okay, this is not going to be easy to kind of like get established in my life or get employment or, you know, find a stable place that I can be living. And he feels like the odds are kind of stacked against him. He does not want to immediately come out and ask for help. I think that's what's going on. He doesn't want to go back to people that maybe he feels like he's hurt or he's disappointed. And so he's just trying right now to be in like this kind of limbo space where he can kind of get stable. But I think his integration back into real life, I don't think it's going to be something that's going to be like from point A to point B. Like I think this is going to be something that's going to take a little bit of time. It is likely that, you know, he's kind of coming around being like hanging his head between his, hanging his head between his like legs, being like, yeah, you know, I'm back. And he's having a difficult time, I think, feeling like coming to terms with like disappointing people. And I don't know if that's you. I don't know if that's the family. I do think that it is kind of indicating that you got to keep an eye on where his head is at, like mental health wise, because he can very easily feel like he's being kind of like ground down and having an issue, feeling optimistic about the future. But if he can stay on the straightened path and really focus on, you know, either it's sobriety or consistency with his routine, like checking in if he has to talk to probation officers or anything like that, even though he doesn't like the fact that he still feels limited, he will recognize that it's a lot better than where he's been and that, you know, it's going to humble him and give him some appreciation for some of the things that he had before he went to jail. I'm not going to tell you what to do. This is your kid. And obviously this situation is very sensitive because I don't know what happened. I can just see that bridges more or less were burned or people were hurt and you tried to help or you tried to step in, but he wouldn't allow you to do that. And so now you're just kind of like, you know what? I have to just like let go and like let God intervene. And if he wants to come back and he wants to make amends, or if he wants to, be in my good graces again, he's going to have to do it, but he's going to have to kind of earn it. And like, he knows that. So there's like a sense of him being a little bit timid about approaching you and maybe even other family members, because he's afraid that he's going to be rejected. So when that time comes, be receptive, because it's going to take him a little bit of time to come around. But I do think that, I think with some support, he can actually do a lot better than how he's done in the past. And I think he's got a much different kind of perspective, and whatever has happened has humbled him. But just watch his self-esteem. He's going to have some issues with confidence and some issues with his self-esteem with getting back to where he was prior. Very difficult stuff. I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm glad to hear that he's out. All right, that was for Dana. Now we've got Jamie and then Cassidy. And Jamie says, you mentioning a period of having a difficult time breaking patterns resonates with me right now. Any insight on how to get through this period of getting unstuck? All right, well, let's take a look, Jamie. What can we tell you about getting unstuck? I like these cards. We've got the Chariot card, the Page of Swords, and the Four of Wands. First of all, notice like how much just the mood shifts looking at the colors of these cards, right? So you've got obviously the darker energies of like the Chariot. Things can look a little kind of cloudy, maybe even a little confusing. Then you've got the Page of Swords, which talks about a lot of changing circumstances, communication, and thought process. And then things get really kind of like bright and lively as you're getting to the Four of Wands. So there's definitely something like lightening up. Jamie says, for context, I am a Libra rising, Pisces sun, Gemini moon. I think a lot of it's been emotional, and I don't just say that because of your astrology, but I mean, it's part of it. But, the Chariot card coming up in the past position is a lot of, over the last few weeks, I think reflecting through the retrogrades, both in your career house, which is Cancer, where Jupiter is, and also through your sixth house, which is about your daily routine, your health, and your habits. There's been this sense of feeling like something is off. I think it's been more connected to the mind-body-spirit balance. I think it's been more where you're like, okay, I'm feeling like I'm being pulled in two different directions. There's things that I feel like I have to do for safety, for security. So things like you have to be working, you have to be showing up at a certain time, you have to be, serving or kind of helping other people. But then there's the emotional side of you that's like, but I'm also feeling very depleted, or I'm also feeling like lower energy, or I'm also feeling like there's bad habits that are coming up, or things that I'm not really like able to kind of release or let go of. And so there's been a little bit of a back and forth where it's like, how do I find the balance between these two things and find something that's going to feel good for me, and some changes that's going on with your habits, your lifestyle. I think that, as a Libra rising, depending on your degree, now you have Saturn that's going to be going through your 7th house. So breaking patterns with relationships, breaking patterns with your lifestyle and your tendency to work, or how you're managing your schedule. I would say for Libra rising, number one is recognizing the problem, and the Page of Swords is helping you do that. Speaking those problems out loud, like really owning it. I think something that's been really helpful for me has been a lot of like, yeah, this is an issue, and not like skirting around it. And so much of the transits going through your 7th house is about like confronting things and having these open kind of dialogues with people, and whether it's getting a reading, 7th house, talking to a therapist, working with a coach, talking to a trainer, and being like, these are the problems I'm having, like how can I work through this? And I recognize and I see that I'm doing this, and getting feedback from someone. It can also mean that other people are kind of calling you on your shit. So there could be people who are kind of talking to you, being like, yeah, this is an issue, and you've got this thing going on, and like that can be really difficult, and but you're also like not aware of certain things, and they're going to talk to you about your blind spots. I would be journaling. I think that would be helpful with the Page of Swords. There can be other air signs that can come in, so other Geminis. It can also be other Libras or Aquariuses. And as a Gemini sun, obviously I think that there's this possibility that now, Gemini moon, there's this possibility that now you're kind of waking up and you're going, okay, I have to learn to communicate differently, and I have to keep an open mind, and maybe I've been stuck in what hasn't been working, and I've been so focused on what hasn't been working that I'm not really like looking for like, options and kind of like new ideas and like alternatives. And so journaling, reading, self-help, breath work exercises, these things can be helpful. But it does look like it's going to shift, because when you're less focused on what hasn't worked and you're more open to trying new things to come up with solutions to some of these habits that you're talking about, that's where the magic is. Like, you have to get outside of your comfort zone now. I love the Four of Wands. I feel like it can be saying over the next 4 weeks, are there going to be challenges? Yeah, but they're more emotional, and like the emotional challenges are pushing you to confront some of those problems so you can have better relationship dynamics, you communicate and feel heard, so you can feel also that you have more clarity and you have more peace of mind. And the Four of Wands is talking about like a group. So I look at this and I'm like, are you going to be going into some kind of group therapy session, right? Are you going to be joining a group that's going to be about inspiring each other, holding each other accountable, people who are going to be better balanced, more physically active, especially if you have Pisces sun. I think like the last couple of weeks, like retrogrades in your 6s, do I need to, have a more physical like lifestyle? Do I need to go back to the gym? Do I need to be working less and focusing more on my emotional health? Do I go to a yoga class? Am I, doing a meditation class? Those things can help. And you're going to find that you need other people more now than you typically do, especially over like the next 2 years, but over the next month, you're going to really see what some of your relationships are really kind of like, where they stand. I see a lot of people supporting you and championing you in some of these changes, but I also feel like rather than sitting and stewing in your feelings, which you can have with the Chariot card, now you're like less feelings, more action, because I can't sit in this anymore, and you're going to be like, these are the things I'm setting forth to do. I'm going to do it, and I need people who are going to hold me accountable and also do these things with me. So I hope that that's helpful, but it does look like there's going to be some kind of rainbow on the other side here in the next month. All right, we've got Cassidy and Kimberly. Can I get a general on love? Yes, you can. Thanks, Jamie. Virgo sun, Taurus rising, Capricorn moon. Earthy, earthy, earthy. Let's take a look. Star card, world card. All right, King of Swords. So in general, I'm not sure your relationship status or what's going on there, but definitely there's a king popping up. So whether you're in a relationship or you're keeping your eyes out for somebody who's coming through, keep an eye out for air signs, right? So like Geminis, Aquariuses, obviously Libras can be kind of coming into your orbit. With the Star card also coming up with the King of Swords, it makes me think about like the sign of Aquarius, right? Which is not always like the thing that you would think that you would connect with the most. But potentially Aquarius is kind of tied to your 10th house as a Taurus rising. The star card talks about being in a phase of like healing, right? Healing and focusing on your wishes and focusing on your goals. And it's interesting because the star card kind of coming up, this happens after we see the Tower. There is healing. So maybe there's been a lot of uprooting and a lot of changes going on in the way that you're looking at relationships in recent weeks or recent months. And now it's made you acutely aware of what it is that you do want. So there's this sense of wishing and hoping for a relationship fulfillment or a situation to kind of transpire. I think that what's really cool about this is it talks about also like being willing to kind of, you know, put yourself back in the dating pool. Like you're like, okay, I'm going to be kind of like just kind of going out there, seeing what's up. Or if you're in a relationship, I'm going to be just kind of touching briefly on what else could this be? What are our goals together? How are we growing and evolving? What do you kind of want from this? What do I want from this? What can we kind of connect and kind of do, you know, as one? Easier said than done, I think, for like the Taurus rising. Like you're going to notice over the next month, like, you know, Saturn going through your 12th house, you're going to want more alone time and reflection. Mars is going to go through there, which can be a very soulmate-y time, believe it or not, because Mars is your 7th. So there can be a sense of cycles in relationships that are clearing out. You might have weird dreams about exes and lots of things are kind of changing. And then boom, somebody can kind of fall into your life that you were meant to meet. And you have like this kind of romantic whirlwind, like love affair behind the scenes. There will be bigger changes in the fall, especially for a Taurus rising. You know, Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde in your 7th. If you meet somebody this year, there's a lot of reassessing where you stand in the fall. Or if you're waiting for that special person to show up, they can be kind of coming in. I would say anytime really from about August into September when you get into Virgo season, and then there's definitely going to be a huge focus on like relationships in the fall. But the World card is saying you have healed something or you've been working on healing something and you're ready to put yourself either back out there or you're ready to go to the next level in an existing relationship. The World card is saying it's good. It's time for this evolution. It's time for change. There's supposed to be something bigger and better that's kind of coming your way that's going to feel like it's more solid in the long term. And the World card can also be saying that karmic cycles are completing with relationships, right? So like we just had for Taurus risings, a Virgo eclipse that was, you know, happening in your 5th house where there could have been an ending earlier in the year. It was like at the beginning of March. Well, I guess it was a month ago. So it was a month ago that you saw that. And that could have been some kind of clearing out of relationships or having misunderstandings in relationships or people who you thought could have been romantic connections. They ended up being more like friends and vice versa. So that's getting washed out. And I think it's doing that because it's preparing you for like either a leveling up of an existing relationship or it's preparing you to meet somebody new. And very different than you. You're all earth, right? So like air energy can be foreign unless you have some air energies in your chart in like Gemini or Libra or Aquarius. This is usually somebody who is in media, communications, teaching. It can be somebody who is just very scientific with their kind of mind. They're very articulate. They're well-spoken, well-educated. Somebody who's a little bit older, very confident, but there is this sense of airiness. There's detachment there. You know, it's not going to be this like whirlwind love affair. And I think that's not necessarily a bad thing because it looks like you're not looking for something that's just going to be like a casual encounter. This coming up with the, you know, King of Swords makes me feel like you're looking at it as I'm looking for somebody who's going to be my best friend. Like I don't want to just have, you know, this kind of physical connection. I want to have that connection with their mind. I really want to feel like we can communicate and talk about anything and I can learn from that person. They're going to be very mature in, you know, how they talk to me, and they're going to be also very thoughtful and like considerate. And like I think you're ready for that. So there is this maturing phase that you're going through with relationships where you're willing to let go of some of the things that you have been drawn to, some of, you know, the type that you have dated in the past. And now you're kind of pulling away all of those superficial layers, thinking like I'd be willing to give up some of that stuff if I could have somebody that was like a really solid connection and somebody that I knew was going to be not just intellectually stimulating, but somebody who I was going to be able to rely on and can have conversations and kind of be my authentic self with. It's not over yet. So, you know, knowing that you're going to be having all of these eclipses that are still going to be happening in Virgo, there's going to be another one that's going to happen like the February of 2027. And that Venus retrograde that's going to happen in the fall, that's what I'd be paying attention to. You know, sometimes the kings, they show up around the time of their element. So could it be in May, June during Gemini season? Yeah. But I have a feeling it's going to be closer to as we're getting into like Libra and Scorpio season. And in September and October is when you're going to see some of the biggest changes in relationship land. And go and look at transits during natal Venus as well. But cycles of wanting to do things that are more kind of just based off of passion or kind of surface related things are over. Now you're looking for what seems to be somebody who is a soul connection, somebody who's your best friend, somebody who you feel like you can talk to about anything, and you're like really opening up to being able to be with that person, but also planning life. This is about fulfilling your goals through relationship and harmony. So it's going to get good, but you may have to potentially wait till the fall. Keep an eye out for those air signs though. We've got Kimberly, and we've got Clara, and then I've got Brianna. What's up, Brianna? I'm not surprised that you sent me that, though, that there is a postponement. That could have been the Saturn energy. All right, let's see what Kimberly says. What's up, Kimberly? She says, hey, Candace, the plumbing in my house got fixed around March 21st or 24th. I want to grow flowers this summer and sell them. How's that looking as a little side hustle? I love that. All right, well, let's see. Should Kimberly be growing some flowers that she can maybe sell as a side hustle this summer? You get the Three of Wands, which, I mean, to me, it looks like you already kind of made up your mind. You know, Two of Wands is like, do I want to do this? Do I not? Three of Wands is like, I'm going to do this. And like, you're already probably in the process of being like, okay, how do I figure this out? Like, do I need to get planters? Like, am I getting like irrigation? Are we bringing like sprinklers in? Like, where are we going to put this? And there's already planning that's being put together for you to be able to do this. So the answer is yes. I like that this is also about kind of saying that it's the opening to doing other things. Like, it might just be you going, let me see if I can just sell, like, you know, grow the flowers if they're going to grow well. Maybe I can put some arrangements together and see how they do. But then it might transpire into other things where you're like, oh, well, am I going to be like trying to, you know, do artistic projects where I'm like selling designs and things with the flowers? Am I drying the flowers if I don't use them? Am I selling them? Am I going to be putting them into like products? You know, am I going to be thinking about what I can do with them? Am I going to put them with like balloon arrangements? Am I going to be creating flower crowns? Do I potentially want to be growing herbs? Like, it's almost the gateway to all of these other creative projects that you could be doing. So yes, I think it's a good idea for a side hustle. I don't think it's crazy. Worst case scenario, you have some flowers that are going to be on the side of your house. I do think that you're still in the building phase of what this looks like. So I would say, if you're going to do this with the intention of it being a business, you need to make sure that you're going to have decent flowers and you can utilize them for something. So with that being said, make sure that you're thinking about the structure, the foundation of how you're planting them. Are you going to invest in beds? Are you thinking about also all of the other necessary kind of things that they're going to need, like how you're going to be, you know, feeding the garden, making sure that you've got necessary, you know, fertilizer, other things that are going to be keeping weeds away. Because it looks like there's a lot of moving parts, and sometimes the Three of Wands represents like more than one person helping you with the task, and whether that's managing the garden, you know, going and pruning things, or maybe kind of cutting everything. And a lot of it's going to be about connection and media. So finding what your niche is and how you're going to be selling these, you know, turning them into, you know, like bouquets and stuff. And if you don't sell them, what you can do with them if you're going to be selling them in an alternative way. Pressed flowers might be a good idea. A lot of people like to buy that stuff on Etsy. Dried flowers and other things, or if you're mixing them with salts or other things, creating baths and stuff. So some of those products aren't potentially going to waste, or those flowers aren't going to waste if you decide to do something with them. Flower power, so many people wanting to do flower projects. Yep. And I also think that this is cool because, like I said, the first like grow season that you're doing is more exploratory. I'm not saying it couldn't be a full-blown business, but it's more exploratory to be like, let's just see if I can do it. And if I can do it, then you'll probably find, like, especially people who like develop, you know, like a green thumb, they become like obsessed and super fixated on, I'm going to get these flowers and it needs to have these conditions and this soil. And like, it might be something that just really grows and evolves. But right now it's about seeing if you can actually be present with the process, maybe not spend too much money on it, and see if you actually can make things grow and turn it into something that can be thriving locally. Threes deal with stuff that you're going to be doing locally as well. So maybe you're like, oh, I'll do like corsages, or I could be doing things for, you know, like small events or like little baby showers, or if people are wanting to buy flowers that I'm growing that are like edible, you know, you could sell them to like local bakeries, stuff like that. But I do think it's a good idea, and I do think that so many people are going to be turning to gardening and growing things and working with flowers and Bach essences and all this stuff, because this year Chiron's going to go into Taurus. So you're going to see a lot of people wanting to heal working with flowers or working with the earth. So worst case scenario, maybe you can learn how to kind of, turn those into Bach essences. Definitely look into that. There's a great company that's called Desert Alchemy that sells them in Arizona. No affiliation, but like it's just amazing that you can go and like have all these drops that are with flowers that can be used for like healing and certain remedies. I love that. All right, I've got Clara here who says, I'm a Cancer sun, Aries moon, and Leo rising. How will my new job go? Well, all of my Cancer suns are seeing lots of career changes with Saturn and Neptune and Aries. But you're a Leo rising, so you've got a new job going on. You got planets going through your 10th house here pretty soon in Taurus season. So let's take a look. One. Okay, sorry. How will your new job go? We have got the Six of Cups. I like this card. I mean, this isn't traditionally like a work card, but like the Six of Cups is like you go to the job and you're like, okay, I'm getting the hang of this. Like, I don't know if you have worked in this industry before, if you have worked with some of these people before, but there's something that's faintly familiar about this job. This is also a place where you feel like you can be yourself. There is a sense of having freedom. You can enjoy what you're doing. There is always something to come back to and work on, so it's going to be stimulating. It's not, to me, seeming like something that's going to be overwhelming. Best time to be starting work here soon, now that we're getting ready to go into Taurus season. So you're going to see Mars is going to be, eventually weeks down the road swinging into your 10th house. Sun's going there, Mercury's going there, Venus is already moving through there. So if you are already connecting with a new position, get ready closer to mid to the end of April to really kind of get the show on the road and get into the full swing of it. And I think it's going to be wonderful because you can meet like-minded kind of people, or you could make friends. There can even be like romantic connections somehow through your work. I don't know if you're looking for that. The Six of Cups is like the soulmate card, but it's also about connecting with people who make you feel at home. And I think it's going to be a pretty easy transition and something that's going to make you feel very comfortable being there. And there's something that wants to bring you back, because it's like this is a reconciliation card. So you're like, man, I like going to work, or like I feel like there's always something new to do, or like I'm enjoying it. Like I don't see that being like a grind or something that's going to be a drag or something that's going to be very overwhelming. So great card to be kind of pulling up. And I wonder if there's something familiar about this, or maybe you know somebody there, or you're going back into a line of work that you used to do, because it seems like you're just going to fit right in there. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. Clara, good luck with that new job. I love that. And then last but not the least, we've got Brianna Littles, who said, one card, please. Court got postponed until 4/8. What do I need to know in advance? Well, first of all, the postponement is interesting because obviously, Saturn is there, so there can be some delay or limitation. So I'm going to go and look at the 8th because I want to see what's going on that day. All right, so on the 8th, you're going to have the moon in Capricorn and the sun is going to be in Aries. So it's literally, the moon's going through your 4th house. It's going to square the sun. So it's about like confronting issues with longstanding family limitations and karma and boundaries. So it's quite literal to some of the stuff you're dealing with. Venus is your chart ruler. So you're going to receive a trine from the moon to Venus. So the fact that it got postponed, I think actually works in your favor because it can mean you have more favorable interactions, with changes with money, changes with family, shifts that are also going on maybe with superiors. So let's take a look and see. What do the cards say about this changed court date? Page of Coins. I like that. I'll take it. Yeah, I'm a Libra rising. The day that Saturn and Mars and Mercury meet is going to be in my 7th house, and I got jury duty. I was like, I'm going to go to court. I'm going to court for something, and I got jury duty. And to me, I don't even know. It looks like a murder trial. I'm going to be really honest. I'm like, this might be a lot more lengthy than I anticipated. Anyway, you got the Page of Coins. So for me, this is kind of saying, look, when it comes to dealing with your kids, when it comes to proving your value, when it comes to doing the work, This is a new opportunity. There's an opportunity that's going to come from this. Now it's a beginning, so it might be like, okay, we're going to begin, to allow you to start having, kind of visitation or some kind of change in the custody, kind of order or something. And it's the beginning of the process of kind of like, we're going to do this and then we're going to wait and see what happens. I love this also, especially if you have like, daughters. Usually pages can be things that are connected to children in general, but the element of earth is generally more feminine. So it's like that reuniting with any of your kids, but in particular, it can be like a woman, or maybe there is a sister or somebody who's going there to support you, or like, somebody's going to be there to kind of help you and support you as being a mom. I also feel like this is good for being seen as reliable, somebody who is on time, somebody who is also working hard towards a goal. And like, you're going to be able to show that. So yes, the date got moved. Honestly, it's not the end of the world. I would be more concerned if it was like the 9th. So the 8th is better. And it makes me feel like there's probably still going to be another one. You may see another one that's going to come up, and that might be somewhere around the 15th, I would say through the 18th. So maybe they say, well, we're going to have this decision, or, if it gets pushed back again, once again, I'm going to tell you, would not be surprised, although this does make me feel like it's going to happen, but it might be a slow start where you're going back to finish something, but you might have to return at a later date. Stay with this date, go, show up, be conservative, dress well, be on time, and also be really focused on talking to them about what changes and things you have been doing and how you've been investing in yourself to make yourself, not appear, but show them, proving to them how you've been working behind the scenes while you've been waiting for this court date to really see that you can have better connection with your family. And I think that it is going to be worthwhile going. So I'm not seeing anything that's coming up negative, but slow start to getting back into the swing of having things going in your direction. So this may be the first of what might be other court dates that you're going to have down the road. Okay? Good luck. Light a brown candle for this one. Bring like a grounding stone, something that's either dark or something that's going to be like dark red. That would be good to take with you as you kind of go to the courthouse. Okay. Fingers crossed for you, but that looks good. I like that physical connection and being able to have more time and physical connection with your kids too. All right. Well, that was Friday night. So thank you guys for hanging out. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Give me a thumbs up. I will be here next Friday doing live astrology readings. I'm actually going to be here for, the new moon in Aries. If you guys haven't seen that video, check it out and make sure you're subscribed so you can see my Sunday video and all the other things that are going on throughout the week. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I hope you guys have an amazing weekend, and I will see you guys back here next week. Until next time, take care.